They were all in the life-restricted regions. Immortal domains creatures didn't understand. Since they were alive, why couldn't they return to their homes? There were many people among them who didn't understand the restricted regions of this world. However, this was different for the experts of this world. They understood it well, knowing just how terrifying the restricted regions were. Even those as powerful as themselves, for example, Sacred Academy and Immortal Academy's elders, even at the Supreme Being realm, didn't dare step foot into the 9 heavens life-restricted regions. The creatures of the restricted regions actually had this type of background? A sect master with a rather high status in the 3,000 provinces released a sigh. Only today did he learn about this. In this world, only an extremely small amount of people knew just what kind of people the lords of restricted regions really were, for example, long-life families and ancient imperial courts. If they are alive, why can't they go back to Immortal Domain? One of Immortal Domain's leaders asked. Since they were still in this world, why couldn't they return to Immortal Domain? They had just arrived, yet they already didn't want to remain here. This world was too impoverished, the great Tao laws not complete, not suited to cultivation, couldn't compare to their Immortal Domain at all. It is because Immortal Domain's gates are closed to them. The great commander's voice was shaking slightly, moreover clenching his fist. From today forth, they definitely didn't have the right to return again. What? It's closed off towards our own people? The others didn't believe what they were hearing. After fighting endlessly with the creatures of darkness, in the end, we will also become contaminated by the inauspicious energy that cannot be eradicated. Immortal Domain does not permit the return of any cultivator with this type of substance on them. The great commander's words made everyone else feel as if they fell straight into an icehouse, their bodies going cold. They all stared blankly, unable to utter a single word. This news was just too terrible. They had a homeland yet couldn't return, basically abandoned. Meanwhile now they still had to offer up their lives, fight with everything they had, pay this type of price, all for what? They were going to be forever exiled here. Even if they didn't completely die off, what was the point of staying alive? They were abandoned by Immortal Domain, forever exiled in this world. Just how cold-hearted are those seniors? Some people clenched their fists. Meanwhile, in the end, they had to step on this path as well, their bones buried in a foreign land. We can only establish a restricted region afterwards. Stay behind in this realm? There was someone who was extremely unwilling, his gaze terrifying. Heh! You all are thinking too much. Establishing a restricted region with just you and me. The great leader laughed, a bit dejected and bitter. The seniors who could establish a restricted region all possess exceptional magical force. These individuals who have faced the most powerful beings of darkness, could you and me even compare to them? Ah! The others all cried out in alarm, all of them becoming fearful, ashen-faced. They couldn't even create a restricted region? Soon afterwards, they understood. Throughout history, the great figures from Immortal Domain who fell, some of those creatures might not have necessarily truly died, but were instead living in the restricted regions. This type of identity, this type of strength, was indeed not something they could compare to. Relax, my side will definitely send out more exceptional experts. If we manage to survive, we can just follow them into their restricted regions. The great commander said. Only, his words more or less carried some bitterness. You spoke too much. The shriveled elder spoke, looking at the great commander, his eyes deep, flickering with treacherous radiance. Why should we even stake it all here? Would paying this type of price even be worth it? There were some who were furious. They left Immortal Domain to fight gloriously. Yet this was what they would obtain in return? The shriveled elder seemed to have a layer of skin covering his body, completely golden. He looked coldly at them, saying, Your heirs, your loved ones, before you all left, they all received the greatest considerations. They will be sent into some of the most powerful inheritances. The price you all paid was worth it. He only had this line for them, however, it made all of those restless leaders calm down. They opened their mouths, but they couldn't say anything. This was the so-called repayment as well as a threat. Right now, Their heirs and loved ones were still in immortal domain. They would obtain the teachings and resources of the highest level. In the future, they would have great accomplishments. If they went against immortal domain's will, then they would be deemed traitors. At that time, what kind of punishment would their descendants and others bear? Sacred Academy and Immortal Academy's elders were also here. As the leaders of the 9 heavens 10 earths, certain supreme beings and long-life families' old clan chiefs had the qualifications to be here. At this time, they all felt restraining fear, their brows locked tightly. However, they didn't dare voice any of their opinions. The events here, some of it can be discussed, but there are some that you all cannot randomly speak about. The shriveled, golden-skinned elder said with a deep voice. Everyone felt a chill, silently nodding. This elder was definitely a true immortal. Moreover, his strength was not weak, making the great leaders all lower their heads. One could see just how great his status was. Has that darkness creature who might become a leader not been killed yet? The elder asked. His entire body flickered with golden light, leaping out. He stepped on immortal mist, appearing in midair, overlooking the land of darkness before him. Vajra Gate sect master's hair was disheveled, becoming stronger and stronger, roaring over there. He devoured another few beast king's darkness blood. He isn't leaving the darkness region. Don't tell me we have to go in? A leader asked. Find a way to kill him, the elder ordered. Sure Hao was also watching from far away. That Vajra Gate sect master's range of activity was just too great. He continuously devoured the Dark Evolution Kings. This is absurd. If this continues, will he become a supreme being? Sure Hao frowned. He clearly understood that this one was entirely different. He had previously been chosen by the magical artifact flickering with 9-colored brilliance, appearance similar to the other origin artifact. It had previously stopped over his head for a bit. Sure enough, that creature headed towards this province, the disturbance too great. All of the darkness matter surged when it moved past, all types of creatures fleeing in panic. It slaughtered everything in its path. All creatures of darkness it killed were devoured, making him stronger. He is about to reach the supreme being level? Sure Hao sucked in a cold breath of air, deeply shocked. His cultivation speed was fast, but compared to this creature, he was beyond slow. This completely defied normal reasoning. Even Sure Hao feeling jealous. The heavens really were unfair. There was this type of cultivation ascension. However, soon afterwards, he calmed down, gradually collecting himself. He believed that everything in this world was balanced. When something was obtained, something else was lost. Only through loss was there gain. This type of abnormal cultivation speed most likely had hidden dangers. In the end, everything just might become nothing. Kill him. This creature is different. It cannot be allowed to head down a different path of evolution, not restricted by the darkness decree. In the end, it might become a second Shuchuo. Immortal Domain's elder already couldn't sit still, strictly ordering the great commanders. Do we really have to risk our lives? Enter the darkness? Someone asked carefully. When we fight against the creatures of darkness, we will make contact sooner or later. It is unavoidable, the elder said. Chi. A streak of divine light split the heavens. An expert from Immortal Domain took action, his cultivation profound, already practiced for many years. He quickly approached, charging into the darkness region. Immortal Domain's troops, even though there were many, the number of those who achieved immortality was still few. There was no way all of them were creatures of that level. Even if it was Immortal Domain, the number of those who achieved immortality was still extremely limited. Ho! A great roar sounded. Vajra Gate's old sect master's pupils were terrifying, like burning silver lamps. He didn't back up, instead diving over, facing this powerful enemy. The dark matter surged powerfully. Immortal Domain cultivator's body immediately trembled. His strength was strong, but when facing the darkness matter, he was left in an extremely passive state. Inside of the Black Sea, even magical force and other things were broken down, corroded. The situation was extremely dire. He needed time to get it over with quickly. Pooh! The final result exceeded everyone's expectations. When the two parties clashed, Vajragate's old sect master's body released dazzling golden light, invulnerable, sturdy, and unbreaking. Meanwhile, Immortal Domain's cultivator was smashed apart by a single slap, his body breaking into two pieces, blood gushing out. Unbreaking, his body's toughness has already reached an inconceivable level. Normal people cannot deal with him at all. A great commander frowned. This was just the beginning, yet that disheveled elder already evolved to this level. If he was allowed to continue growing, he would definitely become a great disaster in the future. I will go. At this time, a powerful individual walked over from the distance, entire body swirling with immortal energy. He hadn't achieved immortality yet, but he was already a supreme being-level expert. With a honglong noise, immortal energy protected his body, hazy and indistinct, actually blocking the corrosion of the darkness matter. Only cultivators with rich immortal energy around them can resist the darkness corrosion, that shriveled elder said. Even though Vajragate's old sect master was strong, he still wasn't the opponent of a supreme being realm expert. As soon as they made contact, he immediately coughed out black blood, body flying outwards. Hung! However, right at this moment, within the darkness depths, a great claw suddenly reached out, covering heaven and earth. It immediately approached. With a pu noise, it grabbed that expert from Immortal Domain, crushing him into a bloody paste. This place became dead silent, everyone stunned. A darkness creature from behind the scenes has appeared. This quick, this swift. Right now, the great commander's expression changed. Could it be that a great decisive battle was going to be fought right from the beginning? Things are much more troublesome now. I am sure that Vajragate fella has been chosen as a darkness seed. He must be killed. I do not wish for him to become a second Shuchuo. At this time, the shriveled elder actually moved himself, heading towards the darkness region. He looked at the great claw that still hadn't retracted, and then at Vajragate's old sect master, closing in step by step. Everyone was stunned. Just how many days had passed? However, trump cards were already being revealed. Was a great decisive battle going to happen? The shriveled elder walked forward, crossing over the dragon vein, directly entering the land of darkness. Immortal energy surged around his body, carrying multicolored radiance, flowing with hazy brilliance. Originally, the layer of golden skin around his wizened body already looked unordinary. Now it seemed even more extraordinary. Only it was a bit strange. There was clearly immortal energy swirling about, yet he looked like a golden skeleton. The black calamity has arrived once more. This old one is going to eradicate evil, came specifically to get rid of you, the elder said. Chi. His speed was too fast. He rushed into the darkness, entire body erupting with radiance, actually dispelling the black mist, making that inauspicious region become dazzling. He reached out with a dried-up great hand, releasing golden radiance, crushing the void until it exploded, wang-wang noises sounding. He directly grabbed that Vajragate old sect master. Oh! Vajragate's old sect master's hair was disheveled, the corners of his mouth carrying black blood. His eyes were like two small silver suns, extremely brilliant. He could clearly sense danger. He didn't face this enemy, instead directly turning around and fleeing. However, the cold smile that appeared on his face made everyone's hearts tremble. His gaze was extremely sinister, as if he was remembering this immortal domain elder. He turned around, actually escaping towards the depths of the darkness. Where do you think you are going? Once one's cultivation reached this elder's level, a raise of his hand could seize the sun and moon. Grabbing the sun and moon would be extremely easy. If he wanted to kill, it was naturally extremely easy. However, in the darkness, a giant claw reached over, covering the sky, terrifying beyond compare. As it reached out, the great earth split open, the void breaking apart inch by inch. A black hole even appeared, the scene terrifying. This was a creature from behind the dark storm. This was the true source of chaos. Now, a powerful being personally took action. Pong! Two individuals faced off. The void exploded, darkness matter surging powerfully. At the same time, immortal energy also crazily dispersed, interweaving here, attacking everything, forming great Tao ripples. This was a collision of natural laws, a confrontation of order. The voices and scenes all seemed to have originated from millions and millions of years ago, vaguely carrying the power of time. A battle at this level was unimaginable. No one expected for a clash at this level to happen just a few days into the darkness calamity, for such a great battle to happen. Powerful winds stirred about, splitting the skies. Many great mountains on the earth were weak like paper, immediately turning into ashes, directly disappearing. This was caused by just some slight fluctuations of the great Tao force that leaked out from these two individuals' battles, yet it created such a terrifying scene. They controlled everything extremely well, almost no explosive force seeped out. Everything restrained within the heart of the battlefield, within the two great hands. This scene was extremely astonishing. The giant beast claw was dark black in color, like that of a lizard's, yet also like that of a demonic bird. It was strange and sinister, carrying scales flickering with dark light. It was completely unknown just what kind of creature it belonged to. Right now, it surged with power, filling heaven and earth, even larger than stars. Meanwhile, the elder's palm released golden light, skin wrapped around bones. He also became giant, covering the heavens, holding back that beast claw. Great Tao ripples surged between the two, continuously clashing. This was the first great confrontation between a true immortal and a creature of darkness. Immortal domain truly hasn't made any progress, still attaching such high regard to rules. Defeat is merely a matter of time. Right at this time, a hoarse sound rang out, carrying an icy coldness, as well as a terrifying cruelty. It was as if an old tortoise was crying out, the sound ear-splitting and unpleasant. This was released by a darkness creature. Great claws moved, terrifying spiraling dark light appeared, tearing at the arm of this immortal domain elder like a meat grinder. The arm of immortal domain's elder exploded, blood flying everywhere, carrying immortal light. Every single drop could destroy groups of stars, containing the power of true immortals. However, even though he was this powerful, he was still injured. An arm was immediately crippled, corroded by a wave of mysterious laws. Dark light surged, about to invade into his body. I won way too easily. In the darkness, that voice said cruelly and ruthlessly. On the other side of the dragon vein, everyone's hearts sunk, feeling incredibly shocked. This elder status was extremely high. He cultivated the golden skin silver bone great method, flesh incomparably sturdy, yet he immediately had his arm crippled. Just how terrifying was the enemy. The troops from the different great long-life families in the 9 heavens 10 earths all became silent. Even Immortal Domain's expert couldn't stop the other side. What were they supposed to do? At this point, there wasn't anywhere for them to retreat to. There was only Immortal Domain. If they couldn't enter, then even if they stayed behind, they would die. When one gets old, one's energy starts declining. I was just a bit negligent and careless. The golden skin shone. Immortal Domain's elder coughed, blood trickling down from the corners of his lips. He was backing up, his body staggering about. However, that broken arm was recombining, regrowing, bloody mist was surging, powerful vitality returning. Moreover, in the sky, there were several stars that quickly brightened. There were some who were stunned, because when they opened their heavenly eyes, they saw that the stars were burning, surging with spiritual essence. Immediately afterwards, these stars grew dim, burning into ashes. However, there were several waves of powerful star essence that surged over from outer space, turning into beams of light, entering the elder's body. He directly burned great stars, absorbing their essence energy, restoring his broken arm. These methods were a bit astonishing. During this process, the battle didn't stop, because the elder was releasing golden light from his body. Layers of ripples spread, stopping that beast claw. In reality, when the beast claw brandished about, heaven and earth were split apart. It continuously fell, wishing to seize this chance to kill the elder. Oh! Suddenly, a great roar sounded from the distance. Vajragate's old sect master's figure became sluggish. He lowered his head, his silver pupils widening, looking at his chest. There was a streak of silver light that stabbed through, crushing his heart. Pooh! Then his body exploded, black blood splashing in all directions, remains falling in all directions. That streak of immortal radiance seemed to be condensed from specks of blood, belonging to the wisps of blood that came out of the elder when his arm previously exploded. When his body recombined, not all of the bloody mist swirled back. Some of it seeped underground, quickly moving, chasing after Vajragate's old sect master. The seed of darkness was killed. Many people on this side of the dragon vein were shocked. Then they cheered. This was a victory for the elder. He left just to kill this vicious being, prevent him from becoming a second Shuchuo. It was because his evolution speed was too terrifying, as if there was no upper limit. Who would have thought that things would go so smoothly, that the seed of darkness would already be eliminated? Ha! The golden skin shone, silver bones resplendent. The elder released a cold laugh, his battle strength surging. He faced off against that black beast claw. And, suddenly, everyone was shocked, because the black blood of the killed Vajragate old sect master was also moving, not erased. In the end, it gathered together, forming a human figure. What? Many people were shocked. One had to understand that this creature was killed by a strand of immortal blood, making him explode. How could it revive again? He hadn't reached the immortal Tao domain, still a mortal body, so a drop of immortal blood should have been enough to hack down the sun, moon, and stars, obliterate everything. He actually managed to survive? This didn't match normal reasoning. It seems I must disappoint you. The seeds of darkness are imperishable. He will definitely grow up once more. In the depths of the darkness, a low voice sounded. That beast claw's attacks became even more ferocious. At the same time, Vajragate's old sect master was completely reviving, bones reconstructing, truly growing. Moreover, a wave of powerful fluctuations was spreading. He was roaring, going crazy. His body quickly became bigger, becoming a giant that towered between heaven and earth. Heavens! This is a supreme being transformation, magical body change. Is he going to advance again? Everyone was stunned. This speed of evolution was hard for one to accept. A bit too fast, withdraw. Someone spoke from the darkness. Moreover, a great claw reached out, crushing towards him, having him shrink, restrain the surging essence energy. One could see that within that normal height body, the black blood became more and more exuberant, accumulating and concentrating. When it broke through in the future, it would be even more powerful. In the darkness, a fine streak of light quickly fled. This was a drop of immortal blood. Around it a bit of darkness blood. You wish to bring away the darkness blood of a chosen? Cold laughter sounded from within the darkness. The beast claw that faced the elder immediately changed, rapidly shrinking. Moreover, the original body appeared. This was a humanoid creature. At the very least, the outline looked close. He was most likely intentionally turning into human form. Even that beast claw turned into a fist. Darkness light surged, smashing towards Immortal Domain's elder, as well as attacking that smear of flowing light. Immortal Domain's elder released a light shout. His body was sparkling, erupting with immeasurable immortal force, fighting intensely against him. With a pung noise, the streak of flowing light still exploded in midair. The immortal blood scattering was one thing, but that bit of darkness blood was also rushing in all directions. Collect! Right at this time, on the dragon vein, another elder appeared, white beard, white hair, his presence aloof and majestic. He really was like an old Taoist immortal. In his hands was a jade cauldron, collecting the darkness blood that exploded in the sky. Among the blood, there were several drops of black blood that entered the jade cauldron, sealed up by him. Then he turned around, immediately leaving. With things like this, that gold-skinned elder didn't continue fighting, also withdrawing. The seed of darkness blood he wanted was already at hand, so he quickly withdrew. That is, old immortal Dr. Senior. Above the dragon vein, someone cried out in alarm, recognizing the identity of the elder who held the jade cauldron. At this time, a gate of light appeared in the distance. Old immortal doctor directly entered, quickly leaving. He wanted to return to immortal domain, this gate taking him there. After wasting all of that effort, it was just to bring away a drop of darkness blood? So what if we give it to you? You all won't be able to find out anything. A creature laughed coldly in the darkness. The great battle ended. The blood on the seed of darkness was actually worth such a huge move from immortal domain. Seizing it like this, the darkness creature on the battlefield didn't give chase. When he saw old immortal doctor enter the gate of light, he gave up, directly disappearing into the darkness. Senior, is this blood extremely useful? The great commander walked up. It is. This is darkness seed essence blood. The seeds of darkness that are chosen. The blood within them is extremely special. If it is completely researched, we can reverse the battlefield situation. The wizened elder said. In the distance, Hao frowned. It was because of the black blood that exploded. A drop landed on his clothes. In reality, after that strand of blood exploded, it flew towards various provinces. Many creatures of darkness fought over it, creating great disturbances. Meanwhile, in the darkness, the powerful existence never took action, not paying any attention. The only ones he cared about were immortal domain's powerful individuals, just not willing to let immortal domain bring away the blood of darkness. There isn't much in this drop at all, but why does it give me such a bad feeling? Hao's brows were deeply furrowed. He cut off that area of his clothes, collecting it inside of a spatial magical artifact, and then withdrew. Not good. Could it be that I'm going to be transformed by darkness too? He was shocked. Even though he didn't make contact with that drop of blood, he still felt like something wasn't right. His body was currently releasing faint dark light. His body was acting strange, becoming a bit heavy. Specks of dark light flickered about. Was this a sign of demonic transformation? Hao shivered inwardly. He didn't actually make contact with the black blood, yet he was already silently contaminated. That drop of blood? He quickly fled into the distance, leaving that region. He wondered if it had something to do with that seed of darkness blood. Perhaps that was the only inauspicious thing that could affect him, right? Hao left the battlefield, quickly moving through the void, his figure thus disappearing without a trace. 2 days later, in a valley, dark light flickered about, waves of low roars sounding. Hao was cultivating in seclusion, operating mysterious techniques, trying to erase the darkness matter. It should be because of that drop of blood. Soon afterwards, he came out, his body returning to normal. This process was extremely mysterious and also extremely dangerous. In that instant, he was corroded by darkness. Hao got up. He felt a wave of hesitation, but in the end, he dug out that spatial magical artifact from below the valley again. Within it, that drop of blood. He carried it on him again. He began to wonder if this spatial artifact might be corroded through. However, he had no choice but to bring it with him. He also remained extremely careful, paying attention to his body's changes, scared that he would be contaminated again. Fortunately, there were no irregular changes. Hao suspected that the reason why he almost became corrupted was because the drop of blood landed on his clothes, affecting him this way. Crucifix in Yang Earth, the void here split apart, 2 streams appearing one after another, Great Yin and Great Yang force operating. Hao still walked that path. Others couldn't endure the pressure of the domain behind the gate, but he could hold on. This was a safe path for him. In the end, he entered the lower realm, entering this desolate land that used to be a life-restricted region. You actually managed to bring back this type of thing. This isn't normal darkness blood, but rather something from a seed-level creature, darkness true blood. The restricted region lord was extremely shocked. Among the creatures of darkness, this was divine blood. Its significance was extraordinary. With this blood, it represented limitless evolution, allowing one to become a giant among darkness creatures. This was rare true blood produced by a darkness seed through great difficulty. After a complex process of sacrifice, the most precious treasure, something that couldn't be sought after, only stumbled upon. It wasn't a darkness seed produced by sacrifice, but rather a coffin that created it. Sure how informed the restricted region lord. When the lord of the restricted region heard this, he trembled inwardly, saying, "Then it's even more special, a heaven's chosen seed, invaluable true blood." Sure how just knew this blood was extraordinary. He asked what kind of use this blood had, how he should deal with it. "You should stay a bit further away from it, or else by keeping it close to you, it will corrode you, make you head towards darkness." The restricted region lord warned. "There are no uses? Then I might as well directly destroy it." Sure how said, "It is extremely hard to destroy. It will grow and multiply without end. Unless you reach the immortal Tao level, continuously purify it with immortal blood and immortal energy." The lord of the restricted region said. Sure how shook his head. "Originally, I wanted to make use of it somehow, but seems like it doesn't have much value. I probably shouldn't have brought this thing back." Sure how was a bit regretful. What if he ended up contaminating the lower realms? Once this black matter spread, he would become the 8 regions sinner. "With me here, you don't really have to worry about this true blood spreading out." Perhaps it might have some great use," the lord of the restricted region said. "What use?" Sure how couldn't help but ask. "You can bathe in darkness blood. Allow it to completely corrupt you," the lord of the restricted region said. "What?" Sure how backed up, extremely alert. No matter what, he definitely wouldn't let go of his current primordial spirit. If he did that, then it was the same as his flesh becoming imperishable, but already becoming a whole different person. In reality, he didn't completely trust this restricted region lord yet. It was because everyone had their own secrets, let alone a great figure like this. "Don't be in such a rush. Listen to me first. The darkness matter is extremely terrifying, but blindly sealing it off isn't a solution. Sooner or later, you'll have to come into contact with it. If you can develop an immunity towards it, perhaps even exploit its power, then there really won't be anything to worry about," the restricted region lord said. Moreover, he felt like this time immortal domain might lose. Even if they could win, there would be great danger. In the future, this world will definitely experience history's most terrifying great turmoil, one that exceeds all previous ages, all great eras. That would be the most terrifying settling of accounts. The darkness matter might be a great disaster, but perhaps one day, it can nurture the flesh, turn death into life. It'll depend on whether or not it can be used. When the lord of the restricted region said these words, Sure how immediately felt many doubts. "You want me to adapt to this darkness matter?" Sure how asked. Once one was contaminated by that thing, there was no going back. Once one fell into darkness, lost sense of self, what else was there to talk about? His life would be over. Otherwise, why would immortal domain be so persistent with sealing it off? Not even those who fought with the creatures of darkness allowed back inside. Forever abandoned, exiled? There is no room to think about others. This might be a chance. The lord of the restricted region said. "This is too risky." Sure how shook his head. "You've even been afflicted by the immortal breaking curse. Yet you're still alive, not crippled. If you can resist the darkness matter too, then you might truly be able to live through this great settling of accounts," the lord of restricted region said seriously. When Sure how heard this, he revealed a serious expression, not saying anything. He began to think carefully to himself. "Perhaps you feel that you are already stunning enough, but let me tell you, before that great clash of powers, any being that jumps out can turn the sky and earth upside down, slaughter 10,000 races. Do you believe me or not? It is because those creatures have all watched great eras rise and fall through the turbulent long river of time." The restricted region lord's words were clear. If one wanted to truly rise up above this terrifying age, survive, then they had to have abilities exceeding the imagination of this world, break all types of forbidden records. Sure how understood the reasoning behind what he said, but he still felt like this restricted region lord was mad. not treating his life like anything serious at all. This is it, you will be high up above, even sturdier than the world, eternally everlasting, imperishable through millions and millions of ages. Meanwhile, if you fail, it is nothing more than dying ahead of time, or else you will die in the beginning phase of the great showdown. There is no way you'll be one of those who will laugh last. The restricted region's lord spoke too directly. You are a madman, Xianxia said. However, in the end, he agreed. At first, his lips were opposed to it, but inwardly he was considering it. For the sake of becoming stronger, he didn't hesitate to take risks, even if the chances of survival were slim. Excellent. A single drop of darkness true blood is only enough to use for now. In the future, you will have to completely immerse yourself in this type of blood, the restricted region lord said. This made Xianxia's expression change. This middle-aged man's clothes were purer than snow. He looked handsome and aloof, but his way of doing things was too terrifying. I will find a way to cultivate more darkness true blood. From here on out, prepare to be corrupted by darkness, he said. Xianxia thought for a bit, and then said, No, I can't make that gamble. I need to take it step by step. He decided that he was going to create another body. Either way, at his level, he could regenerate broken limbs, so building another flesh shell wasn't an issue. That's fine as well, create a darkness body, use him to fight with you. There will be more benefits. The restricted region's lord nodded. In the end, Xianxia left, handing this problem to the restricted region's lord. He wasn't in a rush to return to Stone Village. He first entered the Void God realm to see Bird Grandpa and Coin Elder. Two old farts, did you remember yet? What exactly is that rotten wooden chest? What kind of background does it have? Xianxia asked. It was because this time he saw a chest similar to Origin ancient artifact in the higher realm, so he became even more interested in the rotten wooden chest he grasped. He didn't dare ask the lord of the restricted region, because he felt a bit of restraining fear towards him, still on guard. One had to understand that the rotten wooden chest was something even Shuchuo and Anlin wanted to obtain. It was something they went to great lengths for, willing to pay any price to obtain it. The lord of the restricted region was perhaps precisely that level of existence before. Even though he was a ruined imprint now, unable to revive, Xianxia still didn't dare act too recklessly. If the rotten wooden chest had any strangeness, he was scared that the lord of the restricted region would develop some strange reaction. At the same time, he wanted to have Bird Grandpa and Coin Elder help him think about this, find out if the lord of the restricted region was harmless. If these two elders could recall more things about the past, then he could obtain an answer that would make him feel more relieved. The rotten wooden chest is definitely not normal. We feel a type of restlessness from deep within us, but we just can't recall what it is. That restricted region lord, be on guard against him for now. Do not give him this rotten wooden chest yet. This was what the two old fellas said, their expressions serious. Xianxia stayed behind, his mind at ease, not running all over the place. He focused on increasing his own cultivation, allow himself to really be like a fish that turned into a dragon. The situation was pressing, this world no longer peaceful, not like the previous peaceful times. If he was immortal, then that was one thing, he didn't have a choice, but he had great talent, had hope of rising up. The corruption of darkness began, as well as history's most terrifying great turmoil that was still to come, a bloody showdown. This was a summoning of death, enough to make one suffocate. In this type of age, as long as one was a cultivator who didn't want to protect themselves, become stronger, change their fate like this, Xianxia cultivated bitterly, earnestly reflecting, pondering his own great path. He wanted to rise up in this world of turmoil, to slaughter out his own heaven and earth in the future. What he yearned for was the ability to live through this age of chaos, protect those at his side. He needed to be strong enough to protect Stone Village's peace and tranquility, didn't want his loved ones to die miserably. He wasn't willing to see the great world wither away, for there to only be scorched earth and dried bones left. However, he didn't know if he could really succeed. The future was too cruel. Even if he had seen a corner of the future, it still wasn't trustworthy. It was because no prophecies could be treated as real. Things that didn't happen yet, no one was certain that they would definitely happen. Moreover, back then, that corner of the future he saw, the situation wasn't that great either. Even though he lived, it was bleak, he was powerless, a great tragedy. No matter how many years passed, he still wouldn't forget the corner of cruel future he saw. The entire world was silent, all life extinct, everyone killed in battle. He was the only one who made it through all alone. Behind him were the remains of a scorched black willow tree, nothing else left. Each time he thought of this, his heart would ache, hard for him to suppress this feeling. He would feel extremely suffocated, the source of this only fear. He wasn't willing to believe, nor did he dare believe those futures. He always told himself that there was a way to reverse the situation. Later on, Xianxia had asked some formidable individuals for their opinions, also asking for their guidance, for example, Great Elder Meng Tianjing. However, they didn't seem to be too worried, telling him that things that hadn't happened yet would never be conclusive. Apart from this, according to their deductions, even if something like that happened, what Xianxia saw wasn't the final ultimate scene. It was because in the end, he stepped into the heavens, treading on the summit of divine Tao, but then went further. This meant that things weren't finished. Meanwhile, this made Xiao's mind tremble even more. There was no ultimate scene, yet it was already like this. Just what was he going to experience in the future? It was as if everything was covered in shadows, clues appearing from time to time. How could he feel at peace? He wanted to become strong enough to the point where he could truly reverse everything. This was especially the case when he went into the higher realm, saw the creatures of darkness, saw immortal domain soldiers move out, making him feel more and more like his current cultivation wasn't enough. I want to become stronger. In the great wilderness, Xianxia released a great roar, his voice splitting the heavens. Fortunately, this place was far enough from the village, or else when this type of great Tao ripples were released, there would be great problems. However, he quickly controlled himself, directing his divine voice into outer space, allowing it to ripple in the heavens. Xianxia sighed. This lower realm's land was too weak for him. A single mishap and he might end up provoking a huge disaster. This really wasn't a place suited to cultivation. Not only was the great Tao flawed, even the great earth below his feet easily caved in, easily collapsed. The great Tao being flawed is a whetstone for me to sharpen myself with. I am going to start from myself, use the body as a seed, continuously break through and become stronger. However, where could he go that was sturdy enough? Xianxia looked towards the borders of the 8 regions. He could slaughter his way into the primal chaos. Storms ravaged those areas. The void unstable, easily producing great void cracks that obliterated cultivators. Perhaps only this type of cultivation land was suitable for him. Xianxia put his words into action. He broke through the realm wall, slaughtered his way into primal chaos, using the most chaotic energy storms to refine his body, assist with his cultivation. He had ancient scriptures and secret methods, grasping exceptional great methods. Moreover, he had the body as a seed path. What he lacked was the baptism of time, as well as comprehension gained from calming the heart. Xianxia focused all of his attention, but this couldn't be considered bitter seclusion cultivation either. He returned to the village from time to time. He wanted to find people to exchange pointers with. After every set amount of time, he would return, head to Void God Realm's dark prison to test out his accomplishments, fighting intensely against the existences sealed in those tile vessels, fighting bloodily against those supreme stone statues bound by chains. Moreover, from time to time, he would head to the barren life-restricted region to accept the torment of the life-restricted region lord, for example, allowing the immortal breaking curse to flare out. Meanwhile, recently, he even began to start coming into contact with the darkness blood, risking his very life to refine his own great Tao path. What is the so-called immortal through millions and millions of ages? What is everlasting? All of it is obtained through battle. My sword will cut through all ages. My fists suppress the past, present, and future. Xianxia vowed. He released a low roar, strengthening his conviction. What sword cutting down all ages, suppressing past, present, and future? Stinky brat, get back here. Your age isn't that young anymore. It's time for you to get a wife. While Xianxia was worked up, Stirring himself up, someone cleared their throat behind him, immediately making him go rigid, as if a seal had been placed on his body. Originally, he was full of fighting spirit, yet now all of it was ruthless destroyed. The world was great, but old mom was still the most powerful. Behind sure how was precisely his mom. She cleared her throat, calling him over just like that. He called her old mom, but in reality Qin Yining was still extremely young, in her prime, her age not great. Moreover, she was a cultivator, and her cultivation wasn't weak. Recently, she had always been worried, scared that something unexpected would happen to Sure Hao, wishing for him to marry earlier and settle down, leave behind an heir. It was because this eldest son of hers really was good at causing trouble, his cultivation possibly disappearing, yet he was still so restless, running into the higher realm when he had nothing better to do. This was especially the case when she heard that Sure Hao actually fought against some darkness creature. Moreover, even now unresigned. I don't care how lofty your ambitions are. You are my son, so you must get married. Qin Yining was normally extremely gentle, a good wife and loving mother. But right now, she was a bit pissed, rarely exercising her great authority as this world's strongest old mom. She was scared, worried, hoping that marriage could make Sure Hao become a bit more peaceful, wishing for him to not take as many risks, to not fight against those darkness creatures alone. There were some things that Sure Hao didn't explain too clearly to them, scared that they would all be worried. That was why Qin Yining didn't understand that well, just feeling that life was extremely peaceful right now, that her eldest son was going too wild. Mom, you know that I wish to pursue the great Tao, wishing to overlook the long river of time even after endless ages go past, watch as great eras rise and fall. Sure Hao said. I know, but your surname is Sure, and you've reached wedding age, so you should leave behind an heir. Old mom was still the most powerful, saying this domineeringly. Child, you should consider these matters. As their child, you should understand how your parents feel. This time, even the benevolent old clan chief Sure Yunfeng spoke up. Grandpa Chief. Sure Hao widened his mouth. In reality, it wasn't just them. Even the others in Stone Village hoped for him to get married, to leave behind descendants. This was especially the case when even the Crimson Dragon disciple was snickering, mocking him, egging him on to get married earlier, to just peacefully settle down in Stone Village, not go out and provoke trouble all the time. As a result, this dragon was kicked flying, a miserable scream echoing through the air. His body spun into the distance, disappearing into the horizon. Mom, you should know that I've even met princesses of long-life imperial courts, came into contact with the pearls of undying families, yet my heart was never moved. You want me to pick a Tao companion now? It's hard for me to immediately find a suitable one. Sure Hao was trying to find an excuse. Isn't there one right there? Qin Yining said quietly, but rather forcefully, pointing at Yun Shi who had just returned from picking medicines in the great wilderness. Master, I've returned again. In the horizon, a crimson dragon turned into a streak of scarlet multicolored light, jumping around, full of joy, as if he was purposely mocking Sure Hao, returning like a streak of lightning. Moreover, when he saw Yun Shi at the front of the village, he laughed in an evil manner, calling her martial mom. Pong! As a result, he flew out again. This time when he was kicked by Sure Hao, the foot quickly enlarged, becoming like a mountain, kicking him to who knew where. Either way, he immediately went unconscious, no sign of him to be found for several days. Yun Shi's complexion was fine like jade. However, she was rather calm. Ever since this girl followed him into the lower realms, after saying she would take care of Sure Hao, her mind had been peaceful, having a type of aloof and otherworldly temperament, as if an exiled immortal landed in the realm of mortals. Sure Hao definitely couldn't refuse Yun Shi before her face. Even though she had just returned after picking medicines from the great wilderness, not hearing those words, this was a smart girl, able to guess at the truth just from some clues. In reality, when she saw Qin Yining's gentle gaze, as well as recalled the recent pampering and care, Yun Shi long noticed what was going on. Tell me right now, who exactly are you going to choose? Qin Yining secretly asked. Sure Hao was stunned. This wasn't a matter of who he was choosing, but rather that there was a pit in his heart that he couldn't crawl out of. It hadn't been long since the desolate border great battle had ended. Less than half a year. Great Elder Meng Tianjing died in battle. Even more so, Huolinger was captured along with all of Xin province, falling into the other side, unknown if she was still alive. I know that you have many thoughts weighing down on your mind, unable to immediately let those things go. But those people have died, forever unable to return. We have to look forward. Qin Yining advised. In Qin Yining's opinion, Huolinger couldn't return, or it could even be said that she was already dead. Was Anlin someone of the good sort? Would he leave behind living mouths after seizing Xin province? Moreover, even if there was really a miracle, even if Huolinger was alive, not dead, what use was that? Now, the two worlds were isolated from each other. A heavenly moat between the two that was impossible to cross. Desolate borders, great battles had ended. The two sides completely disconnected. If the two sides wanted to meet again, then it would be a long, long time, perhaps a great era. Alive was fine. If she was dead, then she was dead. Either way, they didn't have any karma to meet again in this life. Qin Yining also felt regret, worried that How couldn't let go of these things, which was why she wanted him to get married as soon as possible. Forget about the unhappiness. Cut away the bitterness. Give me a bit more time. How left, not returning, heading into the primal chaos to cultivate. Huolinger is a good girl, but you two already no longer share any karma. Qin Yining sighed from the back. She was pulled back by Xianxia. Nobody understood one's son better than the father. Xianxia knew that his son wouldn't forget about what happened, no matter what they said. Perhaps he was even using this type of regret to motivate himself. In the following few years, How always cultivated bitterly. His Dao skills advancing steadily, continuously growing, fast to the point of leaving one horrified. One had to understand that at his age, reaching the peak of self-release realm was completely unheard of since ancient times. Another step forward and he would be touching upon supreme being territory. The creatures of darkness evolution speed had to be ignored, because that type of strength upgrade was abnormal, not obtained through one's own cultivation. How truly cultivated his own skills, his fighting prowess astonishing. After many years of time, he continuously broke through, always advancing, his strength becoming greater and greater. That day, a great noise sounded in the primal chaos. He fully consolidated his cultivation at the self-release realm, already reaching a consummate level at the absolute peak of this realm. This type of accomplishment, if news of it got out, it would shake up the higher realm. None of them would expect someone in the lower realms to be on the verge of reaching supreme being realm at such a young age. It could be said that it was never seen before in the 9 heavens 10 earths. It was extremely astonishing, world-shaking. In the following year, he tried to break through to reach the peak domain of mortal Dao. I am only a bit off. Why can't I enter this level? How frowned. He wanted to rush into the supreme being realm, but he failed. He couldn't continue forward from the consummate level of self-release. He returned, heading back to Stone Village, and then went to temper himself in the Void God realm, facing those sealed creatures again. Unfortunately, the effects weren't that noticeable, still unable to break through. During this time, Qin Yining raised the same topic again, hoping for him to leave behind an heir, to not have any regrets. Stone Village's people were all extremely hopeful as well. How's talents were something anyone could see, so they all hoped for him to get married and leave behind an heir. Leave behind some bloodlines in Stone Village. How smiled, muddling his way through again. It seemed like his path in the lower realms had reached its limit. Now that several years had passed, he wanted to enter the 3,000 provinces again, see what was going on with the darkness calamity. At the same time, he wanted to search for some opportunities, see if he could break through in the higher realm. When How entered the 3,000 provinces again, he was extremely shocked. The battlefield was cruel. Immortal Domain's troops suffering considerably, while the darkness territory had enlarged many times. It wasn't just the 3,000 provinces where darkness ran rampant, occupying 1,000 to 2,000 provinces of land. Apart from this, the back calamity appeared in the other parts of the 9 heavens 10 earths one after another. Now, this was no longer limited purely to the 3,000 provinces. The other ancient continents were also like this, already producing dark matter. A terrifying disaster descended. Immortal domain had no choice but to send out more troops. During this period, slaughter happened continuously, the cultivators of all sides suffering disastrous losses. During the past few years, bloodiness accumulated. The corpses were countless, all of it caused by slaughter. Xianxia was truly horrified as he took everything in. He heard that there were even true immortals who died in battle. This type of stalemate confrontation was extremely terrifying and intense, both sides slaughtering each other viciously. Terrifying primordial darkness creatures appeared, iron-blooded and ruthless, killing intent overflowing into the heavens. Xianxia didn't join in on this, only taking action from time to time along the way to size up these darkness creatures. He didn't want to unleash slaughter now. Right now, it was still his period of hibernation. With his cultivation, he couldn't change anything even if he joined. Only when he was strong enough, when a single blade could hack open the dark battlefield, only then would it be meaningful. Along the way, Xianxia still tried to break through, searching for opportunities. He wanted to enter the Supreme Being realm. Unfortunately, things didn't go smoothly at all. He couldn't succeed, still stuck at the peak of self-release realm. Xianxia was rather disappointed. He just couldn't figure out why he couldn't break through this barrier. If others knew he was thinking this, they would definitely become stupefied and curse him out. He really was too greedy. From the distant past until now, there weren't any supreme beings under 500 years of age. Meanwhile, just how old was he right now? His cultivation period was too lacking. Even the most stunning individuals in ancient times, the ones who cultivated the fastest, continuously broke records, had to use several centuries of time, and this was a miraculous feat. Meanwhile, right now, Xianxia, in the eyes of predecessors, was too tender, unrealistically young, yet his cultivation was already world-shocking. No, this won't do. I want to break through. In the end, Xianxia headed out again, returning to the lower realms, bitterly cultivating again. In the blink of an eye, another few years passed. Xianxia now cultivated for 10 years in total in the lower realms. He was at the consummate level of self-release realm, couldn't advance any further, reaching the absolute limit. He had previously guided down lightning tribulation many times, trying to assist with his own breakthrough, but it was still useless. The Supreme Being realm couldn't be touched. It was to the extent where, because he forcefully tried to break through, there were 2 times where he almost died. Once, he triggered a great collapse in the primal chaos, his flesh rotting, the other time in the starry sky. His body was badly mangled, breaking apart inch by inch, making many stars fade out of existence eternally. Xianxia reached a bottleneck phase. He knew that his path really wasn't easy to continue. If he wanted to become the youngest supreme being, it seemed impossible. However, he couldn't accept this. He didn't want to advance only after a few centuries. He just wanted to break the record, create a miracle. Xianxia released a light sigh. In the end, out of helplessness, he sought out the restricted region lord. Originally, he was extremely prideful, hoping to break through this bottleneck by himself, to advance boldly, truly rise up amidst the impossible. However, now he went to seek guidance. He didn't understand. Why was it that even though he was so powerful, his Tao skills mastery profound, practically unmatched under the heavens in the self-release realm, that he just couldn't take that crucial step? The restricted region lord was astounded, not saying anything for a long time. It was because even he was a bit stunned. This youngster wanted to break into the supreme being level in such a short amount of time? Did Huang know that forget about this great era, even if it was immortal ancient great era, there were no supreme beings under 500 years of age? It was something that needed the tempering of time, the baptism of years. You are too impatient. The restricted region lord could only release a light sigh. He didn't dare compare himself to him because being compared to this youngster who was only in his 30s, yet already wanted to become a supreme being, it really did deal a great mental blow. How can I not be impatient? The higher realm's great war rages incessantly. Who knows when it'll be completely corroded by darkness matter? I have to rise up in the shortest amount of time. Xianxia's attitude was firm. Then do you know that in this world, There has never been a supreme being under 500 years of age. At the very least, there hasn't been any in the past great era or two, the restricted region lord said. Sure Hao became speechless. Could it be that what he was asking for was too much? He couldn't help but ask, there really aren't any? The restricted region lord didn't say anything. Was this fella mocking his predecessors? Why aren't there any? Sure Hao asked in confusion. There were indeed people who achieved self-release realm's peak at a young age, but just like you, they immediately came to a stop here, difficult to advance further. Only after a period of time did they advance further. The main reason is that if one wishes to become a supreme being, the amount of experience needed is too much. What is needed is not only the accumulation of power, there is also the accumulation of magical force, even more so the tempering of the mind. The restricted region lord explained. Can you give me more concrete advice on what to do? Sure Hao was a bit anxious, just feeling like time didn't wait for him, that he didn't have much time left. If he didn't rush into the heavens soon, be on equal footing with those great ones, then he might not have a chance anymore. If you want to enter the Supreme Being realm, you need to experience the 100 faces of life, struggle in the great world of mortals, continuously temper the mind. In the end, when your heart is freed, when the shackles are released, you will stand at the peak of mortal Tao, become a supreme being. The restricted region lord said. I need to experience the 100 faces of the mortal world? Sure Hao's brows furrowed tightly. He felt like this was extremely troublesome, that it would take an extremely long amount of time. Even though he knew that tempering the heart was essential, a process he couldn't avoid, he still felt like there wasn't enough time. The restricted region lord said, on the path of cultivation, there will always be some checkpoints that are a bit special, needing all types of harsh conditions to unlock. Only then could they be truly passed. As the final level of the mortal Tao, it is naturally difficult to cross. Then why can the creatures of darkness overlook the refining of the mind, directly break through when enough power is accumulated, blood pure enough? Sure Hao mentioned those creatures. During these past few years, he carefully and cautiously came into contact with the blood of darkness, but he didn't truly immerse himself in it. At the same time, he forged another body, also adapting to darkness blood bit by bit, not directly merging with it. Those creatures only have strength. They are slave soldiers, unable to truly develop. Their so-called supreme being realm advancement is still only in terms of power. An unrealistic mirage cannot be treated as the real deal. Only the seeds of darkness, those special heavens chosen, they are a bit different, able to advance. However, if one deeply examines this, there is great terror behind this. For the restricted region lord to say this, it was clear that there were some things he hadn't explained fully. I will go and temper the heart. Sure Hao left, sometimes remaining in the lower realms, sometimes heading to the 3,000 provinces, his figure appearing in both places. In the following decade of time, he continuously spent his days in the world of mortals, spending some time as a strict teacher, as a mulberry tree picker, a pasture master, even spending some time as a beggar. Sure Hao let everything go, experiencing all types of things, spending his days in the roiling world of mortals, completely immersing himself in this domain, experiencing the different faces of life. 10 years later, he returned again. Unfortunately, he still failed, unable to advance. Temper the mind further. After several months of reflection, Sure Hao set out again, no longer cultivating, instead wandering from place to place, visiting famous mountains and great rivers. During this process, even though he wanted to cultivate the Tao, he let everything go, no longer touching it. He just experienced the rise and fall of the mortal world just like that. Unfortunately, after another decade, when he returned again, he was still unable to become a supreme being. Sure Hao sighed, unable to calm down. He visited the restricted region lord again. You have things preoccupying your mind, moreover, they are too deep, always wanting to become a supreme being, desiring to break through. The more it is like this, the harder it is to break through. The restricted region lord shook his head. Sure Hao became silent. This was precisely what he wanted, to become a supreme being, quickly soar into the heavens, so how could he just let it go? Moreover, you are thinking about quite a few things, wishing to head to the other side and rescue people, to change the battle situation of the future. These thoughts are too deep. This checkpoint, how can you cross it? I'll cross it even if I can't cross it. Sure how clenched his teeth. In this type of situation, you can already be considered to have gone mad. In my opinion, you might as well cut off your path. Leave the world of cultivators. Return to the world of mortals. The restricted region lord actually spoke these words. Moreover, his voice became extremely grand, dignified and sacred, as if there was a great hammer brought down. Sure how became quiet, his face warping. He clenched his fists tightly, expression changing continuously. Only after a long time did he calm down. He gave the restricted region lord a deep bow, saying, "Many thanks for Senior's warning, to remind me to change my ways." Sure how left, walking extremely slowly, directly disappearing. He returned to desolate region, to Stone Village. From that day forth, he gradually forgot about cultivation, no longer thinking about it. This type of state was extremely strange. He wanted to forget about the methods of cultivation, many secret methods and other things becoming vague, all left far away. This time, it wasn't forcefully stopping his cultivation, but rather carrying a type of internal self-baptism, wandering between the border of giving up and gaining, freeing the self. In the end, he threw everything aside, temporarily freeing himself from the world of mortals. Child, so many years have passed. Is there anything you can't let go? Are your thoughts still so deep? Me and your father truly wish for an heir. Xianxia spoke up, bringing up old matters again. Is that so? Turns out my thoughts were actually this deep, even in the topic of marriage and children. I still haven't let it go, full of misgivings. Sure how released a light sigh. In the end, he suddenly raised his head, his eyes extremely bright, and also extremely clear, as if he realized some things. I can get married. Sure Xiling and Xianxia were stunned, and then they became overjoyed. After all these years, they already acknowledged Yunxi. That beautiful and aloof celestial clan youngster followed him down into the lower realms, not abandoning Sure How even when he was being ruined. In the past, she said she would take care of Sure How, and now, she truly never left all this time. Stone Village was full of a festive mood. When news traveled out, the old clan chief Shi Yunfeng and the others were so happy they couldn't conceal their joy, as if they were celebrating a festival. All types of cheers of happiness and laughter sounded. Now, many of the children had already grown up, already taking wives and giving birth. Quite a few people always wanted Sure How to leave behind some heirs. Now, this was finally going to happen. Yunxi, is she willing? Sure How asked his mother. He didn't want to force the other party. That child's heart is something I understand. She is willing, or else she wouldn't have stayed here all this time. When your body suffered a great problem, she still followed you into the lower realms. Xianxia replied. Sure How became silent, nodding. There were some things that left him feeling helpless, but he still had to make a choice. He stared into the distance. Could he wait a great era of time? As time passed by, would that figure under the fire mulberry trees still remain? After a light sigh, it was as if he could see over hills and dales, the blooming fire mulberry flowers, sparkling flower petals dancing in the air. During these past few years, the feeling Yunxi gave off was an aloof and calm one, as if she was completely withdrawn from worldly affairs, gentle, peaceful, and calm. She picked medicines in the mountain in a tranquil manner, as if she was a goddess in a world of mortals. However, today, her sparkling white and beautiful face became slightly red, her expression changing, unable to remain calm anymore, startled by the sudden news. Xianxia came, wishing to have her and Sure How get married. Even though she long had a feeling that this would eventually happen, so many years passed in a flash, and only today did she receive clear information. That was why she was momentarily stunned. She was a bit flustered. Even though she had previously made mental preparations, she still felt like this was sudden. Should she agree? She originally came down into the lower realms precisely to take care of Huang, whose cultivation was going to be crippled, not wishing to abandon him, to repay him in this way. However, who would have thought that Huang's cultivation wouldn't decrease at all, sticking it through all the way until now. Even now, he was still extremely healthy. He was like an undying cockroach. There was such a great calamity. This was the immortal breaking curse we were talking about. Something that could even cripple true immortals, yet he could actually still stick it through. It really was unbelievable. She wasn't able to personally take care of Shi Hao. Previously, she had thoughts of leaving, but Qin Yining stopped her. The reason simple, that Shi Hao hadn't broken free from the immortal breaking curse yet. He might still be crippled at any time. Now, Qin Yining further asked her to marry Shi Hao. Regardless, the significance of a Dao companion for a female cultivator was something entirely different. She found it hard to calm down, actually feeling the urge to run. Qin Yining prevented her from doing so. Perhaps women understood women the best. They quietly discussed things. She thought back to the events of the past, all of the different things that happened. In the beginning, her and Shi Hao wrestled each other. She even had her ears bitten on, but later on became friendly, becoming close friends. In the end, they even more so traveled together through life and death. Shi Hao protected her, escorting her through the bloody plains, bringing her back to Celestial Clan. These were memories that she cherished, hard for her to forget. Only the things Celestial Clan did were like a blade, hacking through these beautiful scenes. When she learned that Shi Hao was being crippled, that he was afflicted with the immortal breaking curse, she didn't feel any hesitation, insisting on following him, precisely to restore the past fractured relationship. The past was already the past. However, now that she looked back, when she asked herself, she was sure that she didn't hate Shi Hao. Following him at his side instead brought many joyous memories. She knew that she did like him. However, there were some things that happened back then after all, so now, could she truly become his Dao companion? She knew that Shi Hao always advanced boldly, domineering the lower realms, ascending into the 9 heavens. He even fought in Desolate Border. He definitely didn't only have a single close female friend. Would he be able to let them all go? This so-called letting go was directed at the things she had to face in the future, as well as Shi Hao who was to become her Dao companion. It was because in the future, what if those women appeared again? What was she supposed to do? Meanwhile, would Shi Hao truly be able to forget them like past beautiful sceneries? At the very least, she knew that there was a Hua Linger. Even though her current condition was unknown, there was a deep imprint left in Shi Hao's heart. Xi's thoughts were a bit complicated, a bit contradictory, but also a bit happy. In the end, she agreed. Qin Yining immediately smiled. In the distance, the Crimson Dragon's entire body was fiery red, scarlet multicolored light swirling about, currently moving its entire body, shouting out, "The heavens are great, the earth is great, but old mom is greatest." This was clearly done on purpose to mock its cheap master, purposely provoke Shi Hao. It was because it knew that this marriage began precisely because of Qin Yining's inciting. Even though Shi Hao's cultivation was extremely profound, when faced with this dragon, he still couldn't endure it. In reality, he didn't want to endure it, so a foot flew out. This true dragon flew again. "I, the great crimson dragon, will return." A miserable scream echoed through the sky from the horizon. All of Stone Village became bustling with activity, decorated with lanterns and colored banners, incredibly festive and lively. The past children, those kids from Desolate Border, had now already grown up. Stone Village was now entirely different, becoming powerful, the foundation astonishing. The aptitudes of Stone Village's descendants were extremely good, while the children from Desolate Border were even more exceptional. They were the descendants of Desolate Border's 7 kings. Now that they grew up, there were some formidable experts who came out of them. In terms of comprehensive strength, Stone Village could already dominate the lower realms. It was just a village hidden within the great wilderness, yet its power could devour mountains and rivers. "Big brother, you are finally going to get married." Qingfeng came, smiling, feeling sincere joy. He was Stone Country's human emperor, so now, he long had quite a few descendants. The Zhuyan tweaked its ears and scratched its cheeks, while its old rival, that little red bird, Vermilion Bird's descendant, also hurried over from Fire Nation's ancestral land. The golden lion's expression was complicated. It came down into the lower realms with Huang already spending many years here, personally watching how quickly he rose up, now actually at the peak of self-release realm. What was hardest for it to endure was that Huang was not satisfied, still wanting to break a record, enter the Supreme Being realm. 500 years was a taboo line that couldn't be crossed for the Supreme Being realm, yet he wanted to break it? If he really did become a Supreme Being before reaching 100 years of age, this really would be enough to scare it to death. Is a Supreme Being under 100 years of age really going to appear? It seems like I have to hurry and cultivate too. Refine the great black tortoise god fist as early as possible. Third Blackie stuck its head out, looking around, a wretched expression on its face. Is this the great tortoise divine fist? The big red bird had a look of disdain on its face, extremely cocky, directly smacking it off to the side with a phoenix wing. The nine-headed lion, Princess Xianxia, and the others all came. There was a group of people from Heaven Mending Pavilion 2, for example, Xiaoyu, Prominent Horn Xiaotian, and others. Now, Stone Village wasn't scared of its location being exposed anymore. Who in the lower realms could still attack them? As the children grew up, this place's fighting strength increased drastically. Even if Sure Hao and the others weren't here, just those grown-up kids were enough to dominate the world. Let everything go. Don't be preoccupied with anything anymore, and I can become a supreme being? Sure Hao asked himself. Time didn't wait for him. The amount of time he had really wasn't much. If he couldn't rise up earlier, everything would be for nothing. As a result, Sure Hao felt worried, felt impatience, wanted to find a way to make a breakthrough on this path as early as possible. However, would letting one's thoughts go really allow one to become a supreme being? Could he really just let everything go? Sure Hao was meditating, forgetting his secret methods, forgetting great techniques, becoming like an ordinary mortal. He gradually calmed himself down. Soon afterwards, his mind became calm. He was reflecting, thinking to himself. The restricted region lord pointed out where he was lacking, saying that he was preoccupied with too many things, that he was going to go mad. Did he really have to sever away all of his thoughts? Right now, this was precisely what he was doing, trying his best to let everything go. Release the restrictions, including his emotions, changing himself. He felt like he was currently scattering his thoughts. Secret methods and great techniques were all forgotten, while the women he had previously interacted with, their figures also became blurry. However, there was clearly still bitterness at the depths of his heart. That's Qing Yi. In that instant, in the depths of his heart, there was a figure that appeared. How could he forget? Soon afterwards, he ruthlessly scattered it again. He wanted to forget it all, become a supreme being. There wasn't enough time. He wanted to rush into the heavens. He couldn't waste any time. If he was given another 1,000 years, 10,000 years, then he wouldn't make this type of choice, wouldn't walk this path. He was scattering his own thoughts. This was what Sure Hao was doing. However, this process was a bit complex, extremely dangerous. He was forgetting, cutting away much of his thoughts, but deep inside, he felt an indistinct soreness. Sure Hao understood. There were some things that were hard to sever. Sure enough, soon afterwards, the figure of that Fire Clan woman appeared again. When one thought emerged, another was scattered, and then another memory appeared. After shattering the thoughts he originally had, he would then instead only bury another thought deeper. In the end, the fire mulberry flowers withered, a rain of flowers filling the skies. That figure that silently waited underneath seemed to have become something he could never forget. Erase! Sure Hao released a light shout, obliterating all thoughts. He decisively took that step, wishing to walk forward. Meanwhile, during the final instant before he did this, he vowed that if he couldn't succeed, couldn't take that step, he would go against the Tao. The so-called against the Tao was that since his thoughts couldn't be erased, then he wouldn't erase them, wouldn't get rid of them, instead cutting through 10,000 Tao with a single will. That path was precisely to destroy all obstructions even while carrying all those emotions, precisely using those thoughts he couldn't let go of to become a supreme being. One will to cut through 10,000 Tao. This was his final choice. Meanwhile now, he seemed to have achieved that step he wanted to take, to scatter all of his will. The expression in his eyes was peaceful as he watched the festive stone village. He walked towards the young lady who was currently waiting for him. That day, Xianxia got married. There were many guests who came, the village extremely lively. Everyone was touching glasses and exchanging drinks. Clan Chief Shi Yunfeng was so happy he was grinning from ear to ear. The children were also laughing, everyone toasting to this occasion. There were many guests from the outside world, even ocean clan creatures and others coming. It's actually that bird. The golden lion was furious. It saw the fella who left bird poo on its nose. That palm-sized 5-colored sparrow appeared. This was a strange bird. There was a small cauldron that was pure white like jade carried by its beak. After throwing it into Stone Village, it turned around to run. Many people were confused, not knowing why the golden lion got so angry. Only Stone Village's people understood just how strange that bird was. They were all alarmed. Xianxia stared at the small cauldron on the ground. He remembered clearly, that day when the 7 deities came down into the lower realms, he went to fight them, bringing a cauldron from the village with him. However, in the end, that cauldron cracked apart, revealing a pure white cauldron within. In the end, that white cauldron disappeared into the void. Who would have thought that the 5-colored sparrow would bring it back? This cauldron swirled with gentle radiance. It was extremely delicate, actually appearing, moreover, in such a strange manner. Meanwhile, it now shrank only an inch tall, quite small. If one didn't pay any attention, they might even overlook it. It was snow-white and sparkling, as if carved out of immortal bones. It was definitely the one from the past. Even though it shrunk in size, Xianxia wouldn't mistake it for anything else. It was precisely that cauldron. Back then, it had been lost, but now it was brought back by that bird. Where do you think you're going? The golden lion immediately began to run, rushing into the sky, opening its bloody mouth. Wind stirred and clouds swirled. All of the clouds in the skies sucked into his mouth. It wanted to devour that 5-colored sparrow with a single gulp, truly angered badly. A pile of bird poo was left on its nose back then. This was the greatest humiliation it had suffered its entire life. However, it was already too late. The sparrow swirling with rainbow brilliance was too fast. When it rushed into the sky, its figure already disappeared without a trace. There were afterimages everywhere. It disappeared into the limits of the boundless horizon, leaving just like that. Get back here right now! The golden lion roared out, its golden beast fur standing on end, releasing golden light, as if it had been struck by lightning, radiance swirling about. However, it just couldn't catch up, already left behind. But now, no one was paying it any attention, everyone staring at that small cauldron. They all knew that this thing was extraordinary. Just from a single look, they felt that it was mysterious and unfathomable. It was precisely because even though the small cauldron looked like it was spotlessly white and swirling with holy radiance, it still gave everyone a mysterious feeling. This was especially the case with the inside of the cauldron, extremely deep and abstruse. It was small, but right now, everything inside the cauldron actually gave off a type of indistinct feeling, as if there was primal chaos filling it, the depth impossible to see. This was extremely strange. It was but an inch in height, why couldn't they see its bottom? Xianxia moved, taking a step forward, the first to make a move. He bent down at the waist, his fingers like nipping flowers, picking this small cauldron up, carefully sizing it up. Xianxia was extremely shocked. His expression moved. It was because only when he opened his heavenly eyes did he see the indistinct scenes at the bottom of the small cauldron. There seemed to be some patterns, it was extremely indistinct. The cauldron was merely an inch or so high. Even if one opened their heavenly eyes, they couldn't completely see through it. This type of feeling was extremely strange, as if it wasn't just an inch separating them, but rather a starry sky, a universe. The cauldron walls are covered in markings, not smooth, and there seemed to be a few pieces missing. When Xianxia carefully examined it, he shockingly discovered that those traces were done in a regular pattern. All of them crafted by someone, forming grooves. Of course, it was extremely faint, or else the cauldron would be full of holes. Was the cauldron originally like this, purposely carved out by someone, or was it to cover up, erase something? Sure How frowned, because those faint markings were extremely symmetrical, not disordered and messy at all. Was this a congratulatory gift from that five-colored sparrow? The material is extremely similar to the 10,000 spirit diagram. Sure How raised his head to look into the horizon. Today really was rather surprising. This strange little bird appeared, truly bringing him a pleasant surprise. There was now no need for any other proof. Everyone in Stone Village knew how extraordinary this bird was. After several decades, it was still there, not changed at all, impossible to see through. The most important thing was that no one could catch it. This bird can move through the void, harmonized with heaven and earth. Otherwise, I would have long caught it. The golden lion was furious. The marriage ceremony continued. This was merely the interlude. After a bit of shock and noise, everyone returned to a festive and joyous mood. First, kowtow before heaven and earth. Second, kowtow to the parents. Husband and wife, kowtow to each other. Under voices of laughter and cheers, everything went smoothly. The new couple bowed towards each other. Even though they were cultivators, the wedding ceremony was no different from that of mortals. Stone Village gradually became stronger from its once declining tribe state, preserving this type of down-to-earth nature all along. Xianxia's heart trembled slightly. Was she now walking together with Sure How just like that, becoming Tao companions? It was as if she was dreaming. Even though she had made mental preparations, now that it really happened, she still felt it was quite sudden. They had previously stood against each other, traveled through life and death. In the end, it was actually this result. It even made her think that life was but a dream. In the past, Sure How guarded her on the way back to Celestial Clan. Yet in the end, he was almost harmed to death. Later on, he even became bitter enemies with Celestial Clan. During that time, she felt truly terrible, knowing that they might never walk the same path again, only get further and further away. Oh. Time to play pranks on the newlyweds. A group of children shouted noisily. The children from back then all grew up, long becoming adults. This was a new batch of kids. Stone Village's population was quickly increasing, growing and multiplying without end. The group of kids were all shouting noisily, even a group of young adults now joining in. Little brats, if you all make any more noise, I'm gonna grab you all one by one and throw you into the eye of the northern sea. De Zhuang roared. Ha ha ha. In the distance, Qin Yining and Shi Xiling were both laughing, extremely happy, as if they were relieved from a burden. Their eldest son got married, fulfilling one of their greatest cherished desires. Good. The old clan chief Shi Yunfeng also continuously nodded, full of smiles. Even though his age was getting greater and greater, his spirit was extremely vigorous, gradually becoming stronger. His blood energy didn't dry up. On the contrary, his physique became more and more robust. It was related to cultivation as well as Stone Village's environment. The number of divine medicines here was definitely not few. Void sky, divine vine, heavenly deity tree, spiritual essence, rose in spirals, divine force pervading the air, nourishing everyone in the village, male, female, young, and old. Stone Village's newer generation's talents became greater and greater, largely related to this. It was because even when they were in their mother's womb, they were already nourished by the essence wafting out from divine medicines. As such, when they were born, how could they not be astonishingly powerful? To the north was a small courtyard. It was cut off by a formation that prevented outsiders from entering. This was like a Shangri-La, rarely seen and unusual. A rock garden surrounded this place, the beautiful trees lush and verdant. These Tao companions, whose relationship was complex, sat down facing each other. Right now, they became extremely quiet, neither of them saying anything. Xianxia's skin was fine like beautiful jade, her eyes full of intelligence. When she looked at Sure How, there was no shyness or embarrassment of a little girl. At least on the surface, she was still calm. Only as for what she was feeling inside, it was hard to say. In reality, her heart was pounding fiercely. Sure How looked at her, thinking back to the past. Many events of the past appeared in his mind. The one who accompanied him was actually Yunxi. He released a sigh, feeling frustration, happiness, and dejected. His thoughts were extremely complex. There was another figure who appeared at this moment, about to truly take form. This made his heart stir. The past thoughts he had scattered, they were restless again? When one's strength was exhausted, how could one's thoughts be completely erased? Their emotions and feelings completely erased. Qingyi, heaven-mending Dao, didn't she say that she was going to come down into the lower realms, reunite with him? Why didn't she come? What about Hualinger? She also gradually took form from those scattered thoughts. Hong. Shihao's body suddenly trembled, divine force surging. He shouted, "One last severing. I will not hesitate to pay the price." Yunxi was shocked. This was the night of being newly wed. Was her Dao companion gaining enlightenment? He actually sat there, closing his eyes, as if he entered seclusion cultivation. Immediately afterwards, she saw Shihao's various thoughts fly out from his body. There were many indistinct figures that appeared in the air, engraving themselves in the void, and then they swirled about him. There was a scorched black willow tree, the place where fire mulberry trees took root. The body Qingyi and Yuchan merged into. The cruel great battles against the other side in desolate border, great elders' tragic death, darkness creatures' surging tide, history's most terrifying great showdown. He had far too many thoughts weighing him down. In the end, Shihao forced them out from his body, having them enter the skies. Shihao entered a state of cultivation. In this newly-wed evening, he didn't move at all, like a boulder, as if he only listened to heaven and earth's scriptures for hundreds to thousands of years. Hong. A month later, the entire small courtyard became a forbidden area that no one could step foot into. Everyone could see powerful Dao laws swirling about, Shihao at the center of it all. It was as if he was a phoenix undergoing rebirth. The great Dao natural laws on his body were like the feathers of a new true phoenix, granting him power, strengthening him to the peak. Supreme Being Aura. He was actually about to become a supreme being. Everyone was shocked. He really succeeded? Too dangerous. If not for him laying a formation ahead of time, cutting off the courtyard from the outside world, Stone Village would have been in danger. Someone said in alarm. He is controlling it, not letting it flare out. Otherwise, we would have long been in danger. Everyone, withdraw from the village. Leave this place to him, the old clan chief Shi Yunfeng ordered. They decided to use Stone Village as a buffer. It was because the entire village could be turned into a great formation, activated. This was arranged by Willow deity in the past. Those natural laws. Those true phoenix feather-like chains of order are withdrawing, entering his body, as if they are forming a cocoon. Everyone saw that Shihao was wrapped by a layer of feathers, turning into a cocoon. It was as if he underwent rebirth again, about to be born, about to start a new life. Supreme Being's aura, he really is going to step onto that path. The golden lion was horrified. Shihao's aura was retracting. If it erupted, if it spilled out of the great formation, the entire heaven and earth would capsize. This was too dangerous. For Stone Village, for the entire great wilderness, for all of desolate region, this was a terrifying thing. Fortunately, it didn't leak out. All of the essence energy was restrained. Shihao was treading on the Supreme Being path. If he succeeded, managing to break a legend of endless ages, he would become history's youngest mortal Dao Supreme Being. The same day, that very moment, great changes took place in the higher realm, affecting the 9 heavens 10 earths. The various great ancient continents were all moving, slowly shifting. They were previously one body, but during Immortal Ancient Great Era, they were ultimately fractured into the 9 heavens 10 earths after the past great battles. Now a mysterious power appeared, guiding them. They might join up again, return to being one. Apart from this, there were even more shocking changes taking place in the higher realm. Is an age without cultivation about to descend? Heavens! The world is devouring itself. Someone cried out in alarm. He came from Immortal Domain, a high-level figure. There were great changes happening to heaven and earth. things that shocked past, present, and future happening. Was this man-made, or was it a natural disaster? Was this an omen? Many people were shocked, even their souls shaking, hazy and indistinct, rising and falling, not living yet not fading. Xianxia was in a type of strange state. His aura continuously withdrew into his body. Meanwhile, his own primordial spirit seemed to have faded, as if he had passed away in meditation, but in reality he was still alive, carrying out a type of strange transformation. Outside his body, the chains of order were like rainbows, natural laws like chains, wrapping around him, forming a cocoon, restricting his body. The Supreme Being path was difficult and full of dangers, possibility of loss at every turn. The danger that was produced was not only the death of himself, but also the destruction of endless earth. One mistake and the stars and moon would wither away, the surrounding heavens and earth collapsing. This was definitely not an uncommon occurrence. When Xianxia withdrew his own vital energy, things seemingly took a turn for the better. This was a rare bit of reassurance on this path, but of course this was only for others in the outside world. It was because if Xianxia was to fail, he might turn to stone, wither up, turn into a clump of yellow earth. No matter how his vital energy and others burned, it would still pour into the world, form a source of essence energy, and not the eye of an explosion. It might also destroy the great wilderness, but compared to the essence energy leaking out and surging, the consequences would be considerably better than a direct explosion. It was because if it was the latter, defeat meant a capsizing of heaven and earth. Everything within who knew how many tens of thousands of years would explode, affecting the great stars and other things of outer space. Everyone in the village was nervous, all of them roaming about. Among them, the golden lion's eyes were flickering. It came from the other side, so how could it not understand the path of Supreme Being transformation? It personally witnessed just how grand and spectacular it was. It had previously seen people who failed, seated in outer space. In the end, great stars exploded one after another around them, magical projections filling the world, groups of stars destroyed. It had previously heard that there were some that ignited their self. Essence energy surged from within their bodies, quickly leaking out, forming a piece of pure earth to nourish plants, creatures, and other things. Of course, the so-called nourishing referred to after things calmed down. In the beginning, spiritual essence surged. Some spiritual herbs and experts directly exploded. It had also heard that there were some who failed on the Supreme Being path, blood splashing over heaven and earth. Seas dried up, mountains and rivers burned up. Great lightning tribulation was guided down, destroying all creatures in a land. The golden lion felt more and more worry and anxiousness, as well as fear. It had a type of agreement with Xianxia if he died, it would also accompany him to the grave. Even if it ran right now, it wouldn't do anything, it would still die here. Even when one wishes to attack at the Supreme Being level in my world, normally, there would be an undying being watching over them from the side. Otherwise, there will easily be issues, the golden lion said to itself. However, right now, where would it find an undying being to protect the Tao for Xianxia? If he really did fail, dying here, there would definitely be a huge problem. Of course, after a wave of panic and fear, it also inwardly cursed why the heavens were so unfair. Just how many years did Xianxia cultivate for? He was even younger than itself, a several decades old Supreme Being. If news of this got out, who would believe this? Even in the other side, everyone might treat this as a joke. 500 years was a dividing line, a curse that couldn't be broken, difficult to cross. At the very least, in this great era that the Golden Lion was born in, there were absolutely not 500 years old Supreme Beings. If one chased further back, then perhaps there were. After all, that was the glorious age of the other side. In that era, they defeated the enemies of all sides. Even this realm, the 9 heavens 10 earths were flattened by them, swept through. What should we do? How can we help him? The Zhuyan was extremely frustrated, unable to sit still. However, there really wasn't anything it could do. Supreme Being path, who walked this before? If not for Xianxia returning, telling them many things, Stone Village's people would have no idea what this cultivation realm even entailed, what kind of meaning it represented. However, the Crimson Dragon understood this feeling inherent to its race. Even though it didn't obtain its clan's secret inheritance, there were some supplementary things that were engraved in his blood, deepening its knowledge. We can only wait. No one can do anything to help him, the Crimson Dragon said. Why don't we bring some stalks of divine medicine over? Boost his vigor a bit? Third Blackie said. Are you trying to say that we should make tortoise soup? Let him drink soup, eat medicine, advance that way? The big red bird shot it a look. Comparatively speaking, the big red bird, as well as Stone Village's later generations, weren't as worried. They had experienced the age of Little Stone legend, personally witnessed the youngster's path of growth. During these years, he continuously broke records, walking his own optimal and brilliant path, making all of them carry great faith in him. Hong Long. Suddenly, heaven and earth trembled. Stone Village was shaking. The golden lion's entire body looked like it had been struck by lightning, fur standing on end, shuddering all over. His heart was pounding furiously. It wasn't even him who was undergoing a transformation, walking the Supreme Being path, yet it seemed to be even more worried and nervous than Shihao. If Shihao died, it would also die. As such, how could it not be scared and worried? However, if Shihao succeeded, then that meant that a curse was broken, establishing an absolute unbelievable legend, stronger than any of the other side's supreme beings in this great era. At that time, the glorious fearless lion would most likely never have the chance to be freed from Huang's side. The chains bound around it would become more and more firm, locking it down. Could it be that it had to follow Huang forever? It was the inheritor of the other side's fearless lion bloodline. Stone Village trembled 9 times in succession. Essence energy surged like a sea, gathering from outer space. One could see endless stellar splendor gathering, converging into a stream, forming a waterfall, crashing down. This was a type of miracle. In this world, all of the sun and moon essence was gathering, surging towards Shihao. It was clearly daytime, but now, groups of stars were flickering, an endless starry sky appearing. The stars in the heavens could all be seen clearly, the suns and other sources of light unable to hide them. This type of scenery was extremely beautiful and also extremely spectacular. Everyone was stunned. This was a waterfall from outer space. It crashed over wave after wave just like that, pouring into the heart of Stone Village, making one's soul tremble. Hurry! Sit down in meditation. Comprehend your own methods. Seclusion cultivation. A few people said, having the children sit here and cultivate. This was a rare opportunity, the spiritual essence so thick it would scatter. This was the essence of heaven and earth. Before the Supreme Being Tao achieving path, the universe's most fundamental energy would gather, refining endless essence. Right now, so much stellar splendor crashed down, pouring over from outer space, wisp after wisp pouring out. Even if they were just drops, they all brought enormous benefits to Stone Village's people. This was especially the case with the youngsters, the children who were currently growing, bringing them even more benefits. The foundational energy of heaven and earth entered their body, basically helping them refine their bodies. Stone Village was covered in a layer of gentle and sacred radiance. Even if one left the village, the outside was still battered by a type of ripple-like wave, spreading outwards. This was peaceful, not chaotic. The Supreme Being path, the essence of Supreme Being gathered from heaven and earth, was a profound source of good fortune, nurturing the creatures of all sides. The heavens have blessed Stone Village, the old village chief Shi Yunfeng said, extremely moved. Even him, already quite old, was changing right now, receiving indescribable nourishment. It was because his skin was becoming taut, no longer sagging, his wrinkles decreasing. Meanwhile, some of his white hair turned jet black. This really was a miracle. This is a natural phenomenon. The golden lion said in a stupor. Only it understood the best because it had personally seen just how supreme beings were born. If one wanted to become a supreme being, they naturally needed to have all types of methods, seek spiritual essence from the universe, absorb the most fundamental things from heaven and earth. Only then could they achieve Tao results. The entire world's foundational essence, even if it was just wisps and strands, When it flowed out like this, for other creatures it brought tremendous benefits. The reason why the other side was so powerful was because they were currently in a type of virtuous cycle. Once one succeeded on the Supreme Being path, they would immediately be able to bring good fortune to the clan, help countless creatures. Those who cultivated around them, the cultivators who also meditated nearby, would all receive tremendous benefits with the Supreme Being achieving their Tao fruit. When this happened, the old could become stronger, even reverse the process of aging, increasing their lifespan. The young children would receive a divine baptism. Those with greater luck would be able to reforge their flesh again, completely shed and exchange their mortal bodies. A single successful Supreme Being path signified a grand occasion for other creatures. There was a saying before that if a Supreme Being could come out of a single clan, then a powerful clan would emerge to meet a historic destiny. This wasn't all because they now had a Supreme Being. It was also because everyone in the clan would obtain a baptism, some people becoming stronger, some having their vessels cleansed, their aptitudes advancing, becoming people with astonishing potential in the future. It could be said that the effects of this would be profound, the entire clan being upgraded. Moreover, the other side didn't only have the Supreme Being path, they also had the Undying path. When someone on that level was born, the divine light that poured out, the source of heaven and earth, would become even more astonishing, able to help accomplish a new peak for those of later generations. This was precisely one of the reasons why the strong would produce stronger individuals. The other side was currently in this positive feedback loop. Did he really succeed? The Golden Lion's expression became more and more complicated, staring at sure how over there. Even starlight is stirring. There was someone who cried out in shock, looking into outer space. In a daze, they heard rivers of stars surge, roaring noises sounding from outer space. Starlight shone endlessly. This is a resonance of star clusters, congratulating the powerful one on the Supreme Being path, a type of irregular heaven and earth scene. The Golden Lion said, his expression becoming more and more serious. He already reached this point. Huang really was a monster, about to defy the heavens. The Golden Lion felt like history's most freakishly young pseudo-supreme being was about to succeed, about to take that step. Hong Long Long. In the world beyond, as expected, there really were voices that sounded, or perhaps they could be called Tao tremors. This was the shaking of heaven and earth's natural laws. Groups of stars were shaking, trembling 9 times in succession, and then they would pour down sun and moon splendor that was even more rich. The stars trembled. The earth shook. These were all good omens. It was now close to the end phase. Was everything going to become complete? Acknowledged by heaven and earth, bringing good fortune to descendants, while oneself was also undergoing extreme evolution. This was the embodiment of Supreme Being glory. My cultivation is actually improving. My insights towards the world deepening. The Crimson Dragon was stupefied. The disturbance this cheap master brought was just too great. One had to understand that it was no ordinary cultivator. As a true dragon, as well as someone with merely 30 years of bitter cultivation, his magical force became astonishing. His Tao results world-shocking. It was just a Huang suppressing it in the lower realms, or else it might have really already became some overlord. His current self dared challenge any creatures. Please continue. Star shaking. Tao shaking. Let's have more different types of shaking. The big black tortoise was swallowing its saliva because it directly broke through a level. A Supreme Being could create a powerful clan. This really did make sense. Just how much time had passed. Yet the nearby creatures, because of him, received tremendous benefits. Even though the Golden Lion was anxious, it really received tremendous benefits as well. Its bones and muscles shook, receiving a baptism, his Tao skills growing uncontrollably. This was a gift of great Tao. Those who were challenging the Supreme Being bottleneck, when they approached the end of the path, all types of auspicious signs would appear. The elders felt like they were full of life, that they were becoming younger. Of course, Stone Village's children received the greatest benefits. They were breaking through. This wasn't just 1 or 2, but rather a great expanse. This was simply a type of wonderful scenery that left one in shock, feeling inconceivable. There were also those who were at the prime of their lives, for example, the descendants of the 7 kings How brought back from desolate border. Now, some of them were shrouded in heaven and earth blessings, covered in divine splendor. They weren't children growing in the village, yet they still had their bodies reforged. Right? Desolate border's 7 kings established great merit. Now, the world is bestowing a great Tao gift, a type of present, good fortune for the 7 kings' descendants. Someone realized, gaining some insights. Chi, a terrifying streak of scarlet light descended from outer space, rushing towards Xiao's head. It's coming! The golden lion's eyelids jumped crazily. It really was worried because the final moments had arrived. If Xiao succeeded, then he would be a supreme being. If he failed, then he was done for. The supreme being path, even at its final phase, was still full of dangers. For example, even now, Xiao faced interference. That streak of light was like lightning, but it definitely wasn't. It was extremely brilliant, extremely red like a drop of blood. It descended from outer space, wishing to blast through Xiao's skull. What is this? A few people became scared. Even though they were just watching, they still felt an indescribable danger. All of them couldn't help but tremble. There were some who said that this is a severe interrogation of the world. If one cannot make it through, then they would turn into scattered ashes and dispersed smoke. The golden lion said. In reality, 90% of those who failed while attacking at the supreme being bottleneck failed at this final stage. So, right at this moment, Xiao moved. His eyes were still closed, but he broke free of Stone Village. His figure flashed, rushing into the heavens, taking the initiative to face it. Ah, why is he leaving? Everyone was stunned, feeling fear. It was because they had just learned from the Golden Lion that when attacking at the Supreme Being bottleneck, everyone would remain extremely cautious. They wouldn't act rashly. At the very least, when seizing the source of the universe, they shouldn't be impudent. He is scared that if he fails, Stone Village will be destroyed, that the great wilderness will be annihilated. The Golden Lion's expression was serious. Will he be okay? Is he in danger? Xianxia asked, her face turning pale white. On the side, Xialing and his wife's breathing were hurried. Their expressions full of panic, just too worried. Logically speaking, he already reached this point. With his freakish and monstrous aptitude, he should be able to make it through. The Golden Lion replied. Pong! That streak of scarlet light was actually impossible to evade. It locked onto Xiao, in the end forcibly smashing into his body, crashing down on his skull. Waves of scarlet mist diffused outwards. Xiao's body staggered, but he stabilized himself, not being killed, not falling down. Chi! A streak of purple light poured down. The aura majestic, carrying a grand and vast feeling, poured down from above, overlooking all life. Xiao frowned, still not opening his eyes. However, he instead further experienced this was not lightning after all, but more like a grand will. The so-called interrogation of heaven and earth. Did it carry the will of the world? Xiao thought to himself. Right now, he already woke up, snapping out of his meditation. From here on out, he had to withstand this power. The Supreme Being path, he wanted to succeed, he did not want to fail. Heaven and earth good fortune was still pouring down. All types of auspicious radiance spread like water ripples, surging nearby Stone Village. Everyone obtained tremendous benefits. However, this type of gift still had its limits. There was no way it could continue. Those who obtained the greatest benefits broke through 2 bottlenecks in a day, breaking through 2 great cultivation realms. As for the baptism, altering of one's growth potential, there was even less of a need to talk about the benefits of this. Purple light struck Xiao's body. His entire body trembled intensely, his primordial spirit almost exploding, but his flesh was actually unaffected. He sensed greater and greater danger. The Supreme Being path was extremely difficult. He was being obstructed. Not good. I have to leave this place. Xiao made his decision. The good fortune of the world was already received by Stone Village's people. It was time for him to leave. Otherwise, once there were some strange developments, then it might involve Stone Village as well as destroy the great wilderness. He's moving, about to leave. The Golden Lion was shocked. One had to understand that when trying to achieve the Tao, one couldn't randomly change things. No one had energy that great, changing locations was too risky. Perhaps the interrogation of the world would even change greatly. Take this as a type of provocation. Purple brilliance raged between heaven and earth, pouring down from outer space, blasting Sherhao's body until he trembled intensely. His primordial spirit was about to explode. His speed was extremely fast. He moved quickly, leaving Stone Village, crossing the great wilderness, wishing to leave this familiar region, bring all of the danger with him. Along the way, purple radiance flickered about, as if there was a heaven-supporting pillar. It directly descended, directly connected to the top of his head, relentlessly crashing down. This was extremely strange and also extremely dangerous. It was because it wasn't like the scarlet light, disappearing after failing to destroy him. This purple light completely locked onto Sherhao. In the heavens, it was as if there was a source of destruction that was glued to Sherhao, continuously attacking at his primordial spirit. It was trying to destroy him, not even give him the chance. Hower! Shi Xiling screamed out, Qin Yining's face even more so turning pale, lacking the slightest trace of color. Yunxi's hands were tightly clenched, her spotlessly white and fine joints already turning green from the pressure. She was extremely nervous, because Sherhao, who had just become her Tao companion, was now in great danger. Child, you have to endure it. The old clan chief Shi Yunfeng was also muttering to himself, his face full of worrying, extremely scared. Inside Stone Village, everyone was extremely excited. They sensed that Sherhao was at the greatest turning point of his life. If he made it through, then the world before him would completely open up, free for him to wander about. However, if something unexpected happened, then he would die. This was an opportunity, but even more so a disaster. As expected, moving like this is the same as issuing a provocation. So the interrogation of the world became even more fierce. Originally, that streak of purple light should have disappeared. The Golden Lion muttered to itself. This wasn't out of good intentions for Sherhao, but rather because of fear, scared that if Sherhao's body and spirit perished, then it would also die here. When it was in the other side, it had already heard that if a supreme being issued a provocation, it might incur huge problems, be punished ferociously and severely. Right now, Sherhao was most likely experiencing this type of situation, making even the Golden Lion's shaggy face crease together. It really wanted to roar out in anger. Sherhao's current cultivation already long far exceeded everyone's imaginations. With just a single step, the mountains and rivers would turn in reverse, starry heavens drawn close. It truly was earth to inches. Times have now completely changed. The past youngster had now already reached an extremely terrifying level. With a raise of Sherhao's feet, he could head into outer space. Just how terrifying of a cultivation was this? How horrifying was the speed? That was why, even though the distance was great under Sherhao's continuous steps, he already crossed who knew how many tens of thousands of li. In the blink of an eye, he already arrived before the realm wall. He wasn't trying to head into another region, but rather into primal chaos. Hong! There wasn't much left to say. He directly sent a fist outwards, smashing into the realm wall. His fist was sturdy and unbreaking, making that place explode. Now, there wasn't much in this lower realm that could stop him. He went straight through, entering the primal chaos. This was a primal chaos zone outside the 8 regions, brutal, dangerous, full of chaotic time-space streams, the very source. Primal chaos surged like clouds, also like a furnace of metal liquid that was currently being refined. This place wasn't unfamiliar to Sherhao. After all these years, each time he needed to comprehend the great Tao, or when he had to test some things out, examine his own Tao fruit, he would always come here. Otherwise, he was scared that he might just destroy desolate region. Chi! Purple light surged like waves, directly rushing into the heavens, becoming more and more terrifying. This was the final blow this light delivered. Sherhao's body trembled, struck until his pores all relaxed, Entire body was suffused with purple radiance. However, it still didn't injure his body. The light swirled about, gathering towards his skull. Dong! It was as if several dozen waves of thunder crashed by Shao's ears, surging within his skull. Purple lightning shone streak after streak, everything attacking at his primordial spirit. This light didn't harm his body, only attacking his primordial spirit. It was like a tremendous will that interrogated all creatures of this world, wishing to deliver the most severe punishment. Shao's hair was messy, his body shining. His primordial spirit was even more so, struggling intensely. Fiery light raging there, primordial spirit force surging. He was using Willow Deity's method, raising his life force to the extreme, wrapping it around his primordial spirit continuously to protect himself from that purple light, resisting. In the end, with a hong noise, purple-colored flames ignited the heavens, turning even his primordial spirit into a purple color. This was extremely dangerous. Shao staggered about, his divine senses about to be erased. However, it was also at this moment that Shao gained comprehension, all types of insights produced in his mind, all types of great Tao traces appearing. He knew that the previous crimson light was incited by his blood energy, and now the purple light was even more so caused by the purple manners within his body. All of these lights corresponded to his body. The so-called purple manner primordial spirit now displayed the most fundamental meaning. The most basic and foundational growth was precisely what appeared before him. In the end, the purple light disappeared. Shao stood in place, not moving for a long time. Purple energy swirled about within his primordial spirit. Multicolored light overflowed, producing an expanse of deep purple. Finally, he released a breath. He was just that close to having his primordial spirit destroyed, losing his life. The Supreme Being path was actually this difficult. He felt like he was strong enough, already made enough preparations, yet he still faced such great danger. Perhaps it was precisely because his cultivation years weren't enough, too far from that dividing line of 500 years. Then, from the skies, a streak of golden light descended, igniting Shao's flesh. No matter how he struggled, the effects weren't that great. In that instant, he was turned into a human torch, burned there. Terrifying radiance and heat were released, making even the primal chaos surge intensely. Time-space became chaotic, great void cracks appearing from time to time, but none of it could do anything to the current Shao. The body-burning pain was what was the most terrifying thing right now. In the end, Shao couldn't help but release a long roar. When his body was ignited, burned until the final moment, part of his flesh dried up, even turning scorched black. A few bones were exposed, burned until they produced golden luster, and then turned black. Just how terrifying of a thing was this? Someone as powerful as Shao was tormented to this degree. The flames impossible to extinguish, the so-called Great Tao flames couldn't compare at all either. This fire was extremely strange, but it just wanted to destroy him, burn him to ashes. Hellfire. Shao understood. This was endless hellfire, not fiery light in the normal meaning. It carried a type of will, a type of judgment, the cruel suppression of the great universe. All sin and all karma descended together, turning into hellfire, burning his body. It was different after all. The Supreme Being path was too difficult. He already took half a step outwards, now already basically a Supreme Being, yet in the end, he still immediately underwent this type of torment, about to be burned into ashes. Raging flames rushed into the heavens. Shao sat down, no longer moving. He was enduring all of this head-on, not using any other precious techniques or great methods. It was because he had heard that when the hellfire of the mortal world was directly applied to the body, it was a type of tempering, also the greatest baptism of a true Supreme Being. If he could endure it, it would bring great benefits to himself. Fiery light overflowed into the heavens, turning everything blurry. This place was extremely terrifying, as if there was an eternally unfading great torch suppressing this place, burning down all of the world's evils. In the end, the fiery light was all erased. As if there were pieces of gold hidden within ashes, there were parts of Shao's body that were shining, some portions withered, scorched black. He shook his body fiercely. The ashes were removed, his withered body recovering its life force. Golden light swirled about his entire body, as if an undying golden body was being reforged. Supreme Being aura erupted from his body. Supreme Being aura? Did he already enter this domain? Sure how carefully examined himself. His strength increased drastically, becoming a good amount stronger than the self-release realm. Only today did he truly understand how far above Supreme Beings were, how they could dominate the creatures of all other clans. With his current cultivation, even without taking action, just by releasing a bit of his aura, it would be enough to make the cultivators of other cultivation realms tremble, their bodies break apart. Compared to before, the absolute domination, the feeling of being high up above, was hard to explain. Just sure how alone, just a single drop of blood could purge a top-level sect. A wave of his hands able to destroy the star domain, refine the sun, moon, and stars. If he released killing intent, he could instantly destroy groups of self-release realm cultivators. This type of power's explosive growth produced great waves in Shurehao's mind. An insurmountable heavenly moat. He was deeply moved inwardly. Even though self-release was a cultivation level lower than Supreme Being, the difference was tremendous. There was a chasm that couldn't be crossed. Did he enter the Supreme Being realm just like that? Shuhao was shaken. He remembered that after he severed many of his thoughts, paid the price, only then did he ascend on this path. He now succeeded? However, this all happened too quickly. Even though there were difficulties as well as danger to his life, comparatively speaking, this Supreme Being path wasn't as impossible as he had imagined. Something's wrong. My Dao skills aren't stable. My magical force is rising and falling, flesh and spirit incomplete. Shuhao examined himself, cool-headedly examining his own flaws. He raised his head towards the heavens. At the final juncture, was it really just those streaks of light that came to test him? The so-called heaven and earth interrogation wasn't as terrifying as he had imagined. The world was overcast, primal chaos wreaking havoc, void-splitting, time fragments flying about. Shuhao was distracted. Something seemed wrong. Did he really advance just like that? He felt some hesitation. He walked out of the primal chaos, wishing to enter desolate region. While moving, he felt a chill. It was just an instantaneous feeling, quickly fading. However, Shuhao immediately froze. It was because in that instant, his entire body went ice cold. His fine hairs standing on end, his heart starting to pound. In that instant, his Supreme Being level mind actually felt a bit of fretfulness, as if doomsday was coming. Just how terrifying of a great matter was this? After some hesitation, Shuhao continued to walk forward. He wanted to see just what exactly it was. The world became overcast, primal chaos scattering. There was only an endless void, dusky to the point of making one suffocate, making one's mind gloomy. The further Shuhao walked forward, the more shocked he became. This way back didn't seem right. Why did it become so suffocating? He knew that something was wrong, but he didn't stop, still continuing. Soon afterwards, he saw a special path made of black stones. He directly took it. Upon closer inspection, it seemed to have been soaked in blood, a dark red color. Corpses. There were corpses collapsed at the roadside one after another. These corpses were extremely strange, extremely special. They all released astonishing battle intent and powerful auras. Even though they were dead, there were still undying imprints surging. Supreme Being auras. Shuhao was moved. This path inside the primal chaos was extremely strange. At the sides of the stone path, those figures all had Supreme Being auras released from their bodies. Many corpses along the Supreme Being path. At this moment, he saw a broken monument just by the side of the road. There were a few characters engraved on its surface, dripping with blood, carrying a wave of killing intent. Shuhao was shocked. Even someone as powerful as him felt chills, his body going taut, feeling great danger. At the end of the path was a cliff. Further down was an expanse of pitch black. Nothing could be seen. This was an endless abyss. Supreme Being path. There were only 3 characters on the ground, written in blood just like that, bright red and dazzling. This blood seemed to be carrying heat as well. Who was it? Who was it that left it there? Xianxia stood there, not moving at all, quietly sensing, thinking to himself. Supreme being path, the road ahead was broken, an endless abyss before him. Did this mean that if he continued with it, he would fall into darkness, consigned to eternal damnation? Hung long, between heaven and earth, rumbling sounds rang out unendingly, as if there was a great Tao rippling outwards, echoing about to revive from death. Xianxia raised his head towards the sky. In the dusky sky there was some brilliance, a bit of order. His heart developed a type of reaction, trying to seize that hint of opportunity. Then he became stupefied, becoming extremely shocked. Heaven and man resonance, he understood the secret of this place. It seemed real, but all of these were imprints left behind after endless ages. The so-called supreme being path was carved from the great Tao, things that some supreme beings previously experienced. No wonder there were those words, many corpses along the supreme being path. This was indeed the case. From the past until now, the number of those who tried to rush into the supreme being level wasn't few, but in the end, 99% of those individuals all died. All those on this path had failed. Xianxia didn't complete the supreme being path yet. If he failed, he would also become one of them. Did the black abyss indicate the end of most of them? Heaven and earth became quiet, all of the brilliance disappearing. The various sensations faded. Xianxia paused slightly, and then he continued forward, upright and unafraid. He took that step, directly arriving above the abyss. The path was broken, all of them had to continue on their own. The supreme being path, this was the final test. With each step, Xianxia dropped a bit, about to enter the endless abyss. What this represented was depravity, destruction. His figure disappeared, continuously dropping. Xianxia released all of his potential, withstanding everything. He wanted to jump out, rush into the heavens, but a boundless wave of pressure crushed down on him, wishing to smash him down into the abyss. He was moving forward but also dropping, moreover, extremely quickly. He had no idea how far he had to go forward, nor did he know how far he dropped. It became darker and darker, everything indistinct. Even heavenly eyes became ineffective. Only at the final moment, Xianxia's feet seemed to have made contact with something. The moment he lowered his head, a chill ran through his mind. This was the bottom of the abyss. There were corpses everywhere. There were this many who died on this path before. They were all people who failed. These weren't true corpses, but rather things engraved by the great Tao. However, they had truly existed before. Xianxia's blood was surging, burning. He used all his strength to resist the restriction, oppose the suppression. He rushed upwards, not wishing to become another member of the corpses. True Phoenix undying method. Kangxiang noises rang around Xianxia's body, feathers fluttering about this world. This was the true Phoenix precious technique, displaying power, releasing death energy, burning the darkness. This place became brightly lit. He was resisting, wishing to make it through this dark abyss. When the death energy completely disappeared, a divine spear flew over from ahead, piercing through the frontal bone with a pu sound, almost piercing through the whole head. This was too terrifying. Xianxia's frontal bone shone, clamping down on this divine spear, and then he pulled it out. This type of trial was a bit strange, too sudden. Ripples and specks dissolved between his palms and fingers. These were spears made from natural laws, scattering apart. The supreme being path was too difficult. After experiencing the mortal hellflame, he could only be considered a pseudo-supreme being, not completing this path yet. This was now the final test. Xianxia continued forward, experiencing 9 days and 9 nights of this torment. During this period, he would face life and death each time, his body almost obliterated many times. In the most miserable instance, he only had a primordial spirit and some ruined bones left, as well as some drops of blood. However, he still survived in the end. Would he be able to make it until the end? He felt like today's path might be even more difficult than the path to immortality. Why? Why is it so hard for me to become a supreme being? Why is it so hard? Xianxia asked himself. He then looked towards the dark skies. The Tao laws are natural, while your desire for growth is too brilliant, not natural. There seemed to be a mysterious voice that replied to him, sensed by Shi Hao. I want to achieve the Tao. Shi Hao's gaze was icy cold, his will resolute. Hong. He stepped forward without hesitation, his will firm. In that instant, the darkness withdrew. He could see the shore on the other side. Shi Hao wanted to climb up, but silently, from the dusky heavens above, there were chains that fell one after another, locking him down, suspending him in front of the cliff, unable to move at all. Tao laws unnatural. The grand voice rang out here, but also seemed to have sounded from within Shi Hao's heart. If a person doesn't have any thoughts, what Tao can he achieve? He should just turn into a rock. Shi Hao shouted. Hong. Between heaven and earth, all types of light erupted. Those chains released Walala noises. Tens to over 100 impaled his body, and then further bound him. Blood gushed out. Shi Hao released a muffled groan. Then all of the chains began to burn. These were different types of symbols, all of them roasting Shi Hao's body. The appearance of any one of them could destroy a powerful creature, while now so many of them immediately appeared at the same time. Remnant thoughts, one after another, everyone a thought. That grand voice sounded again. When the thoughts were gone, that would be when the Tao was achieved. Was this it? Before this, Shi Hao already cut off many of his thoughts. However, there were still so many right now. The ones severed before were still not enough. I have to turn into a stone before you're satisfied? The expression in Shi Hao's eyes became deep. Hong. Raging flames surged, all types of symbols erupting, drowning him within. Iron chains penetrated his body one after another, burning him, scorching his body pitch black, on the verge of collapse. Shi Hao encountered the most terrifying torment. In the past few days, Shi Hao's muscles and bones had completely been destroyed, burned by symbols, even his primordial spirit becoming dim. He reforged his body again and again. However, each time he recovered a bit, the flames would become even more intense. Instead of this, I might as well just rush into the heavens with 10,000 thoughts. Shi Hao released a low roar. The past thoughts he had severed all erupted, appearing in his mind. They rushed out from within his body, and then they shone. Hong. This place surged intensely, more chains appearing, binding around him, wishing to burn down his body and spirit. Behind him was an endless black abyss. Up ahead was a cliff. Shi Hao was suspended above the abyss, extremely close to shore, but just couldn't cross over. It was extremely strange. These iron chains came from the heavens above, wordless and uncommunicative, descending just like that, piercing through him. His body was covered in blood, imprisoned here. The more he struggled, the more tightly he was bound. Right now, endless chains pierced his body. That grand voice came from either his mind or from the heavens above. One chain, one will. This was a bit terrifying. Raging flames surged, fiery light jumping about, illuminating even the dark abyss. There were countless corpses below. This place became more and more terrifying. Shi Hao's flesh was ignited, his bones even revealed, burning like metal. Scarlet flames surged over there. 10,000 wills surged, iron chains surging, raging flames blazing. Shi Hao's body quickly dried up, becoming like a piece of scorched coal. Moreover, the type that was going to break apart. This supreme being path was actually this difficult? He didn't say a word, resisting, wishing to break free from this type of difficult situation. There was still a bit of distance from the shore, already within reach. How could he possibly give up here? 500 years. Is it really a line of taboo that cannot be crossed? He quietly asked himself. With his aptitude, becoming a supreme being in the future was practically guaranteed. The reason he was in his current predicament was because he was impatient for results, wishing to immediately rise up. He was worried that there wouldn't be much time left, scared that the other great powers wouldn't give him the chance to rise. He was worried that the great showdown would arrive. He felt that he didn't have enough time, that if he wasted any more time, then everything would be too late. scared that he wouldn't have a chance to make any contributions before he was killed in the mortal Dao domain. If he didn't quickly rush into the heavens, he would definitely be killed in the future, not even given the chance to put up a struggle. This would then be his greatest regret, being born in these times. Achieve the Dao. He released a roar, struggling about, doing his best to fly upwards, wishing to soar into the heavens. The so-called iron chains appeared one after another, all of them descending from the heavenly dome above. Sure Hao did everything he could, approaching that place. His body that was about to turn into charred coal was covered in cracks. His flesh was dried up, disappearing, turning into ashes. His bones were bright red, about to melt, fine cracks covering their surface. Could be said that he was already in a critical situation. Right now he was dying. It wasn't just his body, his primordial spirit was also extremely weak. Those chains also stabbed into his skull, burning there. Kacha. It was like charred coal. Sure Hao's body broke apart, but didn't separate. It was because he was pierced everywhere by chains, tangling about his body. His life force was quickly decreasing, almost impossible to sense. His eyes grew dim, eye sockets caving in, his face lacking flesh and blood. This scene was extremely horrifying, as if he was a scorched black skeleton. Were his body and spirit going to perish here? He was close to death, his vital energies were all drying up. The so-called oil in the lamp drying up, this was precisely the type of state he was currently in. Chong chong chong. Suddenly, Sure Hao's eyes released brilliance, becoming astonishingly dazzling. Was this the dying flash, the final gambit? Exuberant vitality gushed out. From behind Sure Hao appeared true phoenix wings. A wave of flames surged from within his body. Now that he was close to death, he began to reveal all types of trump cards. Hong! He rushed out, his originally charred black body quickly returning to normal. His flesh regrew, Dao bones emerging, gradually displaying brilliance. He was reviving from a critical state, resurrection post-catastrophe. Phoenix rebirth, this was the most powerful core method of this clan, as well as the world's #1 recovery method, could be said to be without equal. Not only could it treat one's injuries, it could also be used for cultivation. Those who were more decisive cut themselves down, erased their cultivation, and then restarted from the beginning, reconstructing the true self like this. Rebirth through death, return from destruction. This allowed him to become even stronger. This was the unmatched great method of the true Phoenix bloodline. Sure Hao was pressured to this step, left without a choice. He activated the Phoenix clan's unmatched precious technique, allowing himself to erupt with raging flames, fiery light rushing into the heavens. Soon afterwards, his body swelled, flesh sparkling, developing a luster. As for his broken bones and other parts, they had long become reconstructed, becoming like forged steel, releasing zhang noises. He rushed upwards. Without breaking the chains, there was no way he could break free. He wanted to slaughter his way into the heavens. See just what exactly it was that bound him. The so-called one thought, one chain, was this true? He didn't really believe it. A human-shaped phoenix surrounded in pulsing flames charged into the clouds, into the heavens, the disturbance making the void cave in. Great Dao noises rumbled. He reached the final point, saw the truth. That was the great Dao, a lump of primal chaos, an expanse of haziness, changing and deriving there, turned into all types of diagrams like grass, trees, fish, bugs, all living things. Hong! In a single breath of time, it turned into a world tree. It wasn't that large, but leaves fluttered about. Natural laws countless, laws and order like rainbows, piercing through Sure Hao's body. So this was where the chains came from? Oh! Immediately afterwards, it changed again, becoming a sinister ancient beast. Yin and yang swirled. Over 10,000 sharp pricks stabbed into his body, piercing through Sure Hao's flesh. World creation ancient beast? Sure Hao released a muffled groan, staggering backwards, each step producing a blood-colored footprint. Then, specks of light danced about. That place changed again, ancient beasts disappearing. There were seeds everywhere, fluff flying around, descending from above, taking root in Shao's body. This was also a type of torture. The seeds sucked out his blood, taking root in his bones, absorbing his bone marrow. The scenes continuously changed. Even though Shao was retaliating, he was still seriously injured. If he wanted to achieve the Tao, then he must convey the Tao within. This was the tangible incarnation of the great Tao. It continuously descended, crushing everyone to the point where they felt like exploding. Living beings wish to achieve the Tao. The Tao also wishes to devour living beings. Shao felt a type of misconception. He wanted to achieve the Tao, acquire the world's basic secrets, grasp all types of natural laws and profound mysteries of this world. However, during this process, the great Tao had its own plans. He suddenly thought of that small pagoda. In the past, it always spoke of balance, about the transaction of karma. Perhaps this was what it was talking about. If one wished to achieve the Tao, one must first convey the Tao within. If one sought the profound mysteries of heaven and earth while grasping the natural laws, one would also be corroded by heaven and earth, the latter devouring their very essence. That was why 99% of creatures all died. The so-called cultivators were a group of individuals who moved against the heavens, defying the natural great Tao during their cultivation process, so they would naturally suffer setbacks. This was reality. Only some people were able to come up with all types of methods during this cultivation process that allowed it to become smooth and natural, the so-called where the water flows, a canal is formed. However, Shao was not like this. He forcefully climbed to the peak. He didn't follow a prescribed order, didn't even properly prepare. His thoughts were too deep, clashing with the so-called natural process. Of course, without achieving immortality, there was no way he could understand the ultimate profound mysteries. Shao's instantaneous insights, in the end, only allowed him to see a corner of the original secrets. I took the wrong path. With the body as the seed, with me as the roots, the foundation, the truth, I was actually seeking the great Tao of the external heaven and earth. I should be using this as a reference and not imitating it. Even though Shao was seriously injured, blood covering his entire body, he was still speaking, his voice cold and resolute. There was a type of resolution within him that was becoming more and more powerful. The path deviated a bit, but he already reached this point. There was no way out. He still had to continue. He couldn't die, the only option was success. Since you said one chain, then just come back. I will allow all wills to flourish. Achieve the Tao this way. Shao roared out, erupting with the greatest power of his life. His body seemed to have exploded, releasing endless divine light. Supreme being aura covered heaven and earth. All of the metal chains went taut, releasing kangxiang noises. In the skies, the great Tao changed continuously from a dragon to a normal dog, then to a world tree. However, each time, there were still always endless chains tangling around Shao's body, impaling him. Shao knew that he encountered a huge problem. Because of his choice of Tao achievement, the difficulties he faced exceeded others, the chances of death even greater. All wills burn the Tao. Shao roared out, completely going for broke. Not only did he not scatter these thoughts, they instead became even more powerful, erupting from within him, moving along each chain, rushing at the great Tao, issuing a counterattack. Fiery light jumped about. This was his will, converted into fiery light, burning all Tao. However, right now, he still couldn't compare to the great Tao. It was like a moth that set itself on fire, rushing into a bonfire. Hong! He was blasted until he fell, body set on fire, turning into charred coal again. True Phoenix cries sounded. Shao displayed the true Phoenix undying method while in a state of near death, reviving again. He rushed into the heavens, wishing to break those chains, wishing to seize them back. Again and again, he continuously charged forward. In the end, he was spiritually weary, his strength exhausted. His vital energy was completely burned clean. The true Phoenix undying method also had a limit. There was no way it could be used endlessly. In the skies, the great Tao rotated, becoming blurry. In the end, it actually gradually disappeared, receding. What was going on? Shao was stupefied. While seizing his last breath of energy, he greedily absorbed the surrounding essence energy to replenish his own needs. Then he slowly fell, appearing on the other shore, reaching the cliff on the other side of the abyss. Did he succeed? However, there was no auspicious brilliance that descended from the world, nor was there endless surging supreme being energy, not granting him a baptism. "I will just baptize myself," Xianxia said. He sat down here, receiving the energy of all life in heaven and earth to replenish his needs. His half-ruined Tao bones were reforged, flesh becoming brilliant. He quickly recovered. At his cultivation realm, he could even revive from a single drop of blood, let alone still having a ruined body. That was why surviving and recovering to his peak wasn't an issue. Xianxia left the primal chaos region, appearing in desolate region. He sensed that he was more powerful than he had ever been before. What was going on? Did he really achieve the Tao? At this point, Xianxia still felt a bit of hesitation right now. Why did the tangible great Tao that took form in the end disappear? Moreover, he didn't obtain the blessing of heavenly Tao, not obtaining the auspicious baptism. He just calmly made it through the great tribulations just like that? It didn't seem that realistic. Or, a lion's roar sounded from the distance. The golden lion stepped on the heavens, running over, extremely fast, its power tremendous. The massive lion body made even the sky dome tremble. The golden lion's cheeks were streaming with tears, howling out. This type of appearance leaving even Xianxia shocked. Were they really that close? "Thank the heavens you didn't die. I didn't have to accompany you to the grave." When Xianxia heard this, he immediately understood. It was because they had a contractual agreement. It was scared that once he died, it would also die with him. "What happened? You failed," the golden lion asked. "You failed yet could still survive? You really are an undying freak." It was a bit upset at this injustice. "What are you trying to say?" Xianxia stared at it. Then he displayed a bit of his power, normally releasing it. In that instant, this heaven and earth became different, this world starting to tremble. Mountains and rivers shook, sun and moon becoming blurry, as if everything was going to come crashing down. The golden lion was horrified, all of its fine hairs standing on end. It couldn't take it anymore, shivering all over. In the end, it really was disappointing, directly falling weak onto the ground, shaking over there. This was beyond its control. This was a type of pressure that originated from its soul, making it unable to even raise its head, forcing it to lay on the ground. It was just too terrifying. However, something wasn't quite right. Why was so much time wasted? It recalled that when others achieved the Tao, there was no way it would last this long. This wasn't normal at all. Xianxia restrained his power. He had to be more careful. He couldn't let his fluctuations leak outwards. All of the aura had to be kept inside his body, or else there would be a huge problem. A single mistake, if he released his aura leak out, then it might cause other creatures to directly perish. When the golden lion returned to normal, it carefully and seriously asked, "During these few weeks, just what were you doing?" "Achieving the Tao, resisting the interrogation of heaven and earth." Xianxia replied. "What?" The golden lion could not remain calm any longer. It was extremely shocked, looking like it had seen a ghost. How could this be possible? Wasn't it said that only 1 or 2 days was needed? Were there any heaven and earth interrogations that lasted more than 10 days? It was completely normal for it to last only a day or two. "What is your current situation like?" The golden lion was skeptical. Xianxia looked at it. He didn't hide anything, because he knew this lion came from the other side, its experiences vast. The other side's experts were as numerous as clouds in the sky, so it definitely knew many secrets regarding the supreme being Tao. When the golden lion listened to everything, it became completely stupefied. "Not blessed by heaven and earth, didn't obtain its baptism, you were the one who replenished your own essence energy?" The golden lion felt that it was strange no matter how it thought about it. In the end, it couldn't help but say, "Does this count as achieving the Tao? You basically forcibly stuck it through. The great Tao isn't even willing to mess with you." turning its back on you, feeling like you are too troublesome. It was making sarcastic comments while in shock. This was just too inconceivable. What kind of state was Huang in? He didn't completely succeed, instead sticking it through tenaciously like an undying roach? Did this even count as achieving the Tao? It wasn't sure. After hearing what it said, even Hao was a bit speechless. When he carefully thought about it, he really did forcibly stick it through, not succeeding but not failing. He didn't know if he succeeded or not. The great Tao's blessing towards supreme beings affects too many things. You didn't obtain those things. Can you even be considered a supreme being? The golden lion was confused. Hao was also thinking to himself. His strength clearly increased, reaching a terrifying level. He believed that if he met Jin Taijun or Wind Clan's old ancestor, he definitely didn't have to run anymore. If he was strong enough, then he could be just like Great Elder, directly smack Jin Taijun repeatedly in the face. Stone Village seemed far, but for Hao, even the other end of the world was close. Under his feet appeared a great golden path that stretched across the wasteland region, directly arriving before the village. He directly crossed countless li, descending at the front of the village. The villagers cheered, immediately erupting with noise. When they saw Hao return alive, how he was calm and unaffected, this was the best information. "My child, how do you feel?" The expressions of Qin Yining and Xialing both immediately changed from fretfulness to joy. Qin Yining wiped away her tears, a smile appearing on her face. Yunxi also arrived, her figure slender and elegant, quiet like a calm orchid. When her purple clothes fluttered about, she was like a lunar goddess who descended into the world of mortals, beautiful and otherworldly. Right now, her eyes also revealed joy, feeling a happiness from deep within. Uncle came back. This is too great. He definitely achieved the Tao, becoming unmatched under the heavens. A group of youngsters cheered, quickly rushing over. "Child, everything is good as long as you return, as long as you are safe." The old clan chief Yunfeng completely relaxed. During these past few days, he had always felt apprehensive, fearing that something happened to Hao, a bit of tears clouding his old eyes as well. Right now, Hao understood that he couldn't die no matter what. The entire village viewed him as their pillar. If he fell, then the consequences would be unfathomable. "Cheap master, your life really is tenacious. You could even make it through this kind of danger." The Crimson Dragon spoke. However, when its words just finished, it was sent flying by Hao's foot, disappearing without a trace. Of course, he was extremely careful, restraining his aura and fluctuations, or else that scarlet dragon might directly turn to ashes, not even a true dragon able to hold on. "Haha! This is great! You really succeeded." The Zhuyan jumped about. "Hee, I didn't expect my brother to have become a supreme being. From now on, who dares challenge me? They'll be scared to death. I need to hurry and cultivate the great black tortoise god fist." Third Blackie stuck its head out, a vulgar appearance on his face. "Go, stay off to the side and practice your turtle fist or whatever. Don't randomly act like you're so close." The big red bird smacked it off to the side with a wing. Stone Village held a huge celebration. Only after several days did the village calm down a bit. Changes have taken place in this world. The essence energy seems to have become thin, and it seems to continuously be thinning. The Zhuyan sought out Hao, saying this. In reality, the old clan chief Xialing, Yunxi, and the others also sensed it. They all looked towards Hao. These people came together to hear how he felt. Hao was even more sensitive, sensing everything clearly the moment he returned. During these few days, he had visited other places in the 8 regions, discovering that it was like this everywhere. He even more so entered Void God Realm before, asking Bird Grandpa and Coin Elder for advice. Those two were extremely serious, saying that the Tao of the world has changed, that a terror was going to descend on this world. The world is changing. I reckon that a great problem has happened in the higher realms. I will go and take a look, Hao said. He decisively took action. Before leaving, he looked at Yunxi, transmitting sound. The world is in chaos, my Tao companion. so we must be apart more than we are together. I will first make a trip through the 9 heavens. Towards Xianxia he felt a bit ashamed. For the sake of cultivation, for the sake of becoming a supreme being as soon as possible, he agreed to his parents' request, becoming Dao companions with Xianxia. However, during the night of the bridal room, he directly comprehended the Dao going into seclusion cultivation. I will wait for you. Xianxia only had these words. Sure how left. When he passed by Heaven region, the lord of the restricted region immediately became endlessly shocked. He never expected Sure how to directly reach this step. It is quite strange, it hasn't fully matured yet. However, I believe you will complete it. Sure how nodded. He pursued the extreme Dao had to perfect it. Being able to reach this step could already be considered breaking a legend. Sure how reached the higher realm, the journey going smoothly. That ancient path was now not an issue for him at all, unable to hinder his steps. The moment he left Crucifix in Yang Earth, he immediately frowned, because he clearly sensed that this world became different. The spiritual essence had declined steeply, to the extent where it was even a bit sparse. Comparatively speaking, it had dropped a huge amount. There are great changes happening to the world. Sure how rushed out, flying into the distance. Soon afterwards, he saw roiling black clouds, raging flames overflowing into the heavens. Was this darkness matter? What was going on in the 3,000 provinces? Was it completely occupied by the creatures of darkness? He looked into the distance. The darkness army actually advanced into this province, displaying world-engulfing might. Soon afterwards, Sure how met a few creatures. He asked them for details, completely shocked at what he heard. Half of the 3,000 provinces fell under the hands of the darkness creatures. 1,500 provinces had shifted owners. The reinforcements of Immortal domain couldn't stop them. Moreover, recently, there was another major event that happened, leaving everyone terrified. The creatures of darkness temporarily stopped fighting Immortal domain, having a temporary ceasefire. The world is devouring itself. Doomsday is approaching. This was what an elder said to Sure how with a trembling voice. In reality, quite a few people knew this because it was spoken by Immortal domain's guests. They immediately sensed the abnormalities, and then soon afterwards, there were shocking changes as expected. The 9 heavens 10 earths, those ancient lands, were floating, about to connect together, returning to one world. The most shocking change was that the great Tao became distant, spiritual essence would gradually dry up, entering dark times that weren't suitable for cultivation, perhaps even an era that didn't allow for it. Even Immortal domain's creatures were horrified, trying to think of countermeasures, fearing that this would extend into Immortal domain. Moreover, the creatures of darkness all temporarily stopped. They were also hesitating, only watching. Not good. Sure how frowned. This wasn't suitable for his growth at all. The cruelest era was about to arrive, yet it wasn't suitable for cultivation. Being born in this era was the sorrow of all creatures in this world. Sure how wanted to understand the details. Just what was it that caused such a terrifying great event? He wanted to find people he was close to. His old friends also wanted to understand their current situation, just what exactly was going on. The first one he thought of was Chao Yuxing. This fella had a master that could derive the past, present, and future. How was he now? Was he still alive or already deceased? When they separated before, Chao Yuxing didn't hide anything, telling him where his master lived in seclusion. If there was anything that happened, he could come to look for him. Sure how didn't waste any time, turning into a streak of lightning, disappearing from his original location. Unfortunately, there was nothing to show for all of this. This was an extremely ordinary valley, the inside completely vacant, no signs of life. Fortunately, the darkness matter didn't corrode this province yet. Did he not return from the 9 heavens yet? However, why isn't his master here? Sure how was confused. There were thatched cottages and ancient caves, but they were empty. With his powerful divine will, right now, there wasn't anything that could escape him. Soon afterwards, Sure how found a Dao imprint left by Chao Yuxing. It was hidden well, but he still found it. The imprints took form. Xiao Yuxing was weeping, incredibly grieved and hurt. Before the Dark Ages began, my master went to face it, and then never returned. Woo-woo? Sure Hao was stunned. He released a light sigh. An age without cultivation has arrived. Perhaps it really is as my master predicted. Sooner or later, I will be buried into the earth. I am going to look for a place to place my grave. He actually left behind these types of words. Sure Hao was stupefied. Then he carefully looked at these imprints. He was trying to decipher it, wishing to know where Xiao Yuxing was. Was he really going to bury himself? The imprints were deciphered, because there was a secret code Xiao Yuxing had created with his friends, allowing them to see the secret information. I am going to head to the land of reincarnation. My master said that that place is suitable for raising a corpse, precisely the place where I should bury myself. I must bid my farewells to everyone. When he saw these words, he originally should have laughed, but Sure Hao just couldn't. Instead, he felt a bitter feeling. This damn era, it came just like this. Hateful. Land of reincarnation. Sure Hao began to search based on the information he had. According to what Xiao Yuxing's master said, that was reincarnation, immortal king's immortal dwelling. There were also others who said that without end immortal king had previously established a residence here to cultivate in seclusion as well. There was even more so a type of saying that this was a true reincarnation land to begin with, unrelated to those immortal kings. There was actually a secret place like this. For Sure Hao, distance wasn't an issue no matter how far it was. That ancient land was in the 3,000 provinces in this ancient continent, so it was even easier. When he searched about, after a while, he finally arrived. There was a dense primitive old forest in a grand mountain range. When he headed deeper inside, he actually saw some golden bricks and jade tiles hidden deep within the earth. For Sure Hao, even the mountain range couldn't escape his sight. He could now see through even more things. This is the place. In front of a mountain region, he stopped. There was mist here, comparatively speaking extremely thick heaven and earth essence energy. Then, his figure disappeared into the mist with a flash. Soon afterwards, he passed through all types of formations, entering a half-sealed pure land. This place could also be considered a small world. Sure Hao thought of all types of possibilities, but he never expected the scene before his eyes. It was a bit out of his expectations, leaving him dumbstruck. He saw Xiao Yuxing, as well as a dog. They were jumping about. That Xiao Yuxing wasn't the adult Xiao Yuxing, actually only 7 or 8 years old. He was still chubby and tender, currently jumping. What happened? Sure Hao was stunned. Xiao Yuxing returned to being a child? Why did he become younger? Behind him was a palm-sized little puppy, currently chasing after him, barking. Sure Hao became dizzy. This was just too humiliating. A palm-sized puppy was barking while chasing after Xiao Yuxing, while he was running for his life. Return my dragon meat bun. This is something this great one was going to use for rebirth. That palm-sized puppy barked. Sure Hao felt a huge headache. Dragon meat bun? Sure enough, he saw a snow-white bun in Xiao Yuxing's hands. He wasn't willing to let go no matter what, running for his life. He really wanted to throw it into his mouth, but the dog behind him was madly chasing after him. Damn dog! Who are you trying to fool? What without end's brother? What reincarnated immortal king? Do you think I'm stupid? If I really give it to you, won't you just run without looking back? Xiao Yuxing shouted. What happened? Just what was going on? Sure Hao was a bit absent-minded. You were looting a grave, digging out this great one, already agreed to be my human servant. Yet you still refuse to admit your wrongs, even stealing my dragon meat bun. Today, I am going to cook you alive. That palm-sized puppy was extremely fierce, crying out, but in reality, it was the length of Xiao Yuxing's soul, yet it was chasing after him viciously. Sure Hao really was dumbstruck. What kind of situation was this? It seemed to be what Xiao Yuxing's master told him to do, choose a grave. But in the end, he dug it out, moreover digging out a puppy? Where is the long-life medicine my master planted here? It was definitely eaten by you. Return it to me first, or else I definitely won't return this dragon meat bun. Human servant, you've angered me. Accept your punishment. Sure Hao watched from afar, feeling ashamed for Chao Yuxing. He was being chased by a little dog, yet he was crying out in panic like this. Human pet, receive your punishment. The palm-sized little puppy barked, calling Chao Yuxing a human pet. It opened its mouth, a streak of lightning hacking forwards. Chao Yuxing had returned to being a child, looking like he was just 7 or 8 years old. His body was round, Taoist robes around his body, extremely chubby, but also rather agile as he ran for his life. His cultivation now was quite strong, already on a completely different level. However, it still wasn't enough for him to escape. Pong! Chao Yuxing was struck by that streak of lightning. He released a miserable scream, flying outwards into the distance. With a so noise, the palm-sized puppy jumped out, immediately stepping on Chao Yuxing's round face. It bared its fangs, threatening him. Human pet, you dare disobey me? Do you really not know this old one's strength? It shook its perfectly straight tail, grinning there, revealing its snow-white little teeth. Who told you to steal the long-life medicine my master stored here? I am only making things even, Chao Yuxing cried out. Just because this great one didn't act out, you really thought I was someone easily bullied? If you have something to say, then say it, don't use violence. Chao Yuxing really failed to live up to expectations, trying to compromise. One had to know that this was only a palm-sized little puppy who was standing on his face. He was actually scared of a puppy acting out. Sure Hao really couldn't keep watching. He leapt out from where he was hidden, walking forward. He felt like this fatty Chao really lacked a backbone. Bark! Who are you? Tears were about to stream down fatty Chao's face, but before he could speak out, that puppy bared its fangs first, asking Sure Hao who he was, where he came from. Let him go first, Sure Hao said. When he saw the scene before him, he really didn't know what to say. The mischievous, round-bellied fatty Chao who was lacking in moral sense was actually tormented to this degree. However, he also noticed that this puppy was not normal, his body giving off the feeling of great changes, possessing a type of mysterious, vigorous life force. Don't move. You aren't allowed to come over. It was clear that this puppy was sensitive, sensing that something wasn't right, that Sure Hao was dangerous. While speaking, its small claw was placed on Chao Yuxing's head. Extremely sharp, perhaps just a bit of force and it would stab through. Fatty Chao's small face immediately turned pale. This damn puppy's viciousness was something he had experienced before. He really was scared that he might be done for just like that. Sure Hao smiled, still continuing forwards. This puppy was extremely uneasy, pressing down on Chao Yuxing's head until blood almost came out. This should be enough, Sure Hao said. Ripples were released in the void, waves rushing out. A mysterious domain appeared, locking down this place. Chao Yuxing was stupefied, because he sensed a boundless aura. This type of might was something he had experienced from Great Elder Meng Tianzheng, Immortal Wang, and the others before. After 30 years passed, his old friend already grew to this degree. Fatty Chao was about to go crazy, feeling like this wasn't real at all, looking like he had seen a ghost. Why yeah, a monster? Just how young are you? Seeing as how tender your bloodline aura is, you are clearly a brat who is less than 100 years of age. How could you have already entered this domain? The puppy cried out. In addition, it was extremely directly releasing Chao Yuxing, jumping on the ground, its eyes burning with a strange ferocity, staring continuously at Sure Hao. Sure Hao was surprised because right now he was displaying supreme being might, yet this puppy wasn't restricted, still moving normally. If it was a normal person, they would long be trembling in fear, laying on the ground. Even though he didn't target Chao Yuxing, only sealing this place, Fatty Chao already couldn't move at all. He laid there, frozen like stone. Sure Hao withdrew his aura, not releasing it anymore. He also began to size up this strange puppy. Don't be so shocked. Back then, what kind of opponents did this king face? You can't even begin to imagine. The puppy bared its fangs. Chao Yuxing was discontent. This little dog would always call itself this old one when it spoke to him, yet when it saw Sure Hao, it used the title this king. What dog fart king? Chao Yuxing quickly stood up, running from it, jumping to where Xianxia was, staying away from it. "Oh, I forgot to introduce myself. I am Immortal Ancient's #1 Immortal King." The little dog introduced itself like this. Qiao Yuxing became speechless. Just now, it had felt like it was starting to become a bit more modest, no longer calling itself some old one. Yet in the end, this fella directly increased his bullshit level, calling itself an Immortal King. Xianxia revealed a strange expression. This puppy really couldn't be dealt with using normal reasoning. "Brat, you already have supreme being level strength at your age. It really is quite respectable, having some of this king's past brilliance. This child is worth teaching. Why don't you take me as your master? I will pass on to you an unmatched great method." The puppy raised its head, putting on an aloof and arrogant appearance. Xianxia wanted to smack this little dog. It really was arrogant. Qiao Yuxing opened his mouth, but he really didn't know what to say. However, he felt a strong urge to give it a vicious beating. Even so, before he could do anything, the little dog moved first. It was because it was just too short, only a bit taller than the back of Xiao's foot. Even raising its head to look at him was difficult. Only by raising its head all the way could it see Xiao's face. With a whoosh sound, it displayed a secret method, just too fast, moving to the top of Qiao Yuxing's head, sitting on it. It looked at Xiao from that position while tilting its head, using this height so that it didn't have to always raise its head. "You damn little dog. Climbing all over other people. This one is going to stake it all against you." Fatty Qiao was triggered. His face was being stepped on. He couldn't even protect his own head. However, he discovered that he couldn't do anything to this dog. The puppy sat on his head, steady as a mountain. The so-called precious techniques, brilliance, radiance, none of it could do anything to it. "Human pet, be a bit more obedient. Stop wasting your energy already. Couldn't you see that not even this supreme being brat could do anything to this king? I am a reincarnated immortal king, but even though my Tao skills aren't there, my body is sturdy and unbreakable. With your ordinary flesh, you can't do anything to me no matter what you try." The puppy spoke arrogantly. At the same time, it also put on an impatient appearance, smacking Qiao Yuxing's head with its paw, lecturing him. Qiao Yuxing was so angry he began to curse outwards. This little thing was bullying others too far. This damn thing really was something, directly sitting on his head. "Stop being so noisy. In the future, I'll consider taking you as a disciple. Pass on to you an unmatched immortal method." The puppy rubbed his head, looking like it was amusing a child. None of Qiao Yuxing's precious techniques could do anything. Even though sword energy and others released kungxiang noises, they couldn't do anything either. His entire face became red, about to be angered by this puppy to death. Previously a true immortal body, but your Tao skills were lost, degenerating to this state? Xiao asked. "I already said everything. I am the #1 Immortal King," the puppy said while sitting on Qiao Yuxing's head. "Let him go first. Let's have a chat." Xiao had many doubts towards this dog, full of amazement. He knew that this individual was definitely not simple, most likely a degenerated true immortal body. With a so sound, the puppy jumped down, landing on a stone table not far away, saying to Xiao, "Please." Xiao sat on the stone stool, looking at it, carefully sizing it up, yet just couldn't see through it. Its body had a layer of mysterious power around it, blocking external perception. "Without End Immortal King was my elder brother. Reincarnation Immortal King was my younger brother. After loathing that the world lacked opponents, unable to bear the loneliness, I cut myself down," the puppy said. "Find a pot and just stew it up." Even the roots of Qiao Yuxing's teeth were aching. "Human pet, this king is talking, so you should just stay quietly to the side," the puppy warned. "Let it be, we can calmly talk about things," Xiao said. All of the hair on this palm-sized puppy's body became a dark red, giving one a feeling of endless time passing, but also as if there was a wave of thriving life force that was spreading. This was a bit contradictory, as if it was an old person, but also as if it had just been born. Based on Xiao's suspicions, this really still might be an old monster that lived from Immortal Ancient until now. just that because of unexpected events it lost its cultivation. His flesh was still powerful. As for reincarnation or whatever, he didn't believe it at all. You really believe this little dog's words? Chao Yuxing was upset, really wanting to convince Shi how to capture it. He really had enough, no way would he believe this dog. Even the long-life medicine planted by his master had been eaten by it, yet it still had the nerve to call itself an immortal king. You really dug it out of the ground? Shi Hao asked Chao Yuxing. Yeah. That grave has existed for an endless amount of time. But who would have thought that what was waiting in the very depths was a stupid dog? Chao Yuxing was furious. I'm warning you. If you call me a stupid dog one more time, I'm going to directly eat you. The puppy glared at him, its fangs flickering with radiance. Let's have a sincere and fair discussion. There is no point in hiding anything. Shi Hao looked at this puppy. This puppy revealed a strange expression. What can you tell me? What valuable information do you have? I've previously seen a corner of the future. There was a big black dog that achieved immortality who was always chasing after a fat Taoist priest, biting him. Shi Hao said calmly. Fatty Chao, even though he became extremely strong, became a true immortal, he was still constantly chased after by that dog. This was quite the sight to see in itself. However, this was the truth. In the burial land outside Desolate Border, Shi Hao had previously encountered this, previously seeing Chao Yuxing's figure past countless ages. What? You saw it? The puppy's expression changed, its dark red fur trembling, ears becoming straight. Its tail also stuck out straight, the expression in its eyes extremely unkind. You seem to also know about it? Shi Hao was stunned. Then, he revealed a surprised expression. He couldn't help but start thinking to himself, staring at this puppy. You are Immortal Ancient's dog king? Or are you that big black dog from the future? Shi Hao suddenly asked. He actually spoke these words, carrying this kind of doubt. What? Chao Yuxing was stunned, feeling extremely shocked, a bit in disbelief. The stupid dog he dug up could come from the future? You are trying to create a diversion, right? Having us mistake you for someone from Immortal Ancient, burying yourself here. Shi Hao stared at it. Youngster, it seems like your thoughts run quite deep. If you let yourself indulge in such wild fantasies, it will be easy for your mind to go crazy. The dark red puppy spoke, its voice not too fast or too slow. Are you saying that I'm wrong? Shi Hao stared at it intently. Tell me who can live in the past, who can reverse time-space. It has never happened before. Even if one can temporarily return, they won't be able to change anything. If I really came from all those years in the future, the karma that will be involved will be far too great. Don't even dare speak a word. If I even try to do something to anyone, it might very well overturn the endless ages. The puppy said calmly. Then please tell us your true identity. Shi Hao calmly said. My relationship with without end Immortal King is extremely good. However, during Immortal Ancient I was seriously injured, hacked by a hidden spear from the other side that pierced through my skull. Back then, my dying body was buried in the land of Reincarnation. And now my Tao skills have weakened, but I can still be considered to be making a turn for the better. The little puppy actually spoke these things. Chao Yuxing opened his mouth. He had many questions he wanted to ask. Human pet, don't annoy me. When this old one was secretly attacked by that spear, it pierced through my primordial spirit, which made me forget many things. When the primordial spirit shatters, the amount that can remain is extremely limited. Now that we are on the topic, I was buried all fine and dandy, sleeping peacefully. So why did you come and bother me, digging up the grave, interrupting my transformation process? The puppy spoke forcefully, mocking Chao Yuxing, making him swallow back the words he was just about to utter. You are an ancient creature, but when you heard the corner of the future I spoke of, mentioning that big black dog, why did you suddenly lose your cool? Shi Hao asked. It is because you aren't the only one who could see a corner of the future. Back then, during Immortal Ancient era, our powerful seniors had also made divinations. Seeing this, the puppy said, spoke candidly, that in Immortal Ancient times, its fur was black. Later, as its age increased, entered its older years, its fur became gray, carrying a dark red color. Fine, I followed without end immortal king. I was only a true immortal, not a king. Further admitted. Back then, without end immortal king cultivated the laws of time, grasping its great laws, previously divining the future. We should discuss things thoroughly, Xianxia said, his eyes burning with desire. Regardless of if you are from the future or from immortal ancient, tell us everything you know, don't hide anything. Qiao Yuxing was extremely moved. We can, however, I fear that you too will be disappointed. I really was ambushed by someone. My primordial spirit scattered. Only a portion of my memories left. Xianxia stayed here for 2 days, having a private discussion with this dog. Qiao Yuxing wanted to join in, but each time, he would be bullied badly by that dog, smacked to the side by a paw. Why did you become younger? After discussing things with this dog, only then did Xianxia ask Qiao Yuxing this question. I accidentally ate a dragon meat bun, and then some medicinal herbs, and then I turned younger. Qiao Yuxing had a distressed look on his face. The corners of Xiao's lips twitched. This was definitely great natural luck. To return to his younger years, for cultivators, this really was a blessing that couldn't be sought. Originally, I wanted to eat a long life medicine, but it disappeared. Qiao Yuxing was upset. At this time, the puppy said candidly that it was indeed the one who ate the long life medicine, or else even if it was dug up, there weren't many chances of it surviving. Return my long life medicine to me. Qiao Yuxing was furious. What about my dragon meat bun? There are at least 3 missing. The puppy bared its fangs. Xianxia decided to leave. Now that he met his old friend, he wanted to investigate the darkness creatures, to understand why this world was entering an age without cultivation. I'm going with you. Qiao Yuxing was decisive. Even if he was beaten to death, he couldn't be buried here right now. Otherwise, staying with that puppy really would be too much to endure. Bark. I am also going. Let's see what the present world is like. What stupid darkness creature. I'll make them all human servants. The puppy barked. They left, traveling through the 3,000 provinces. They began to investigate carefully, learning about the situation. Cultivationless age, it was inevitable, irreversible. This was the result that they came to. The darkness matter has corroded the 3,000 provinces. Half of the territory has already entered the hands of the darkness creatures. This is the case with the 9 heavens as well, all of them losing half or a small half of their territory. Qiao Yuxing sighed. The 9 heavens 10 earths, as a whole, now lost half of its territory to the creatures of darkness. This was too terrifying. Xianxia and the others wandered about the 3,000 provinces, moving along the edge of the darkness region. These places all had great formations established, armies stationed in some places to intimidate the darkness creatures. There are even forts, made into cities? Xianxia was stunned. There were some regions that had forts built to stop the creatures of darkness advance. There were some experts in charge of defending them. Wang family is in charge of this region, Qiao Yuxing said. He saw a large banner, on it a brilliant Wang character. Wang family's 9 dragons? Xiao's eyes revealed chilly radiance. In the past, he was forced into extremely miserable states by those 9 dragons. One of the 9 dragons even personally sent troops to kill him. Wang family is likely panicking as well. They previously sought out my master's place of seclusion, wishing to have him make a divination. However, they were a bit late. My master was already no longer there. Qiao Yuxing said. There were some people from Wang family who really did some upsetting things, searching everywhere for Qiao Yuxing's whereabouts, more than once, wishing to forcefully bring him away, and then force his master to give in. It's been a while. Then we will just take a look around this fort Wang family's people are in charge of. Xianxia said. The 9 dragons might be here. In the past, even immortal Wang had come here, Qiao Yuxing warned, but soon afterwards, he realized that Huang had already risen up, not fearing supreme beings, not scared of the 9 dragons. I really do want to meet with these 9 dragons again, Xianxia said. On this side of the mountain range, ancient trees towered into the heavens, lush and verdant, full of life force. Flying birds and roaming beasts could be seen everywhere from time to time. Meanwhile, on the other side of the mountain range, black energy covered everything, all of the plant life becoming black. All sounds seemed to have vanished, extremely deathly still. On this side of the mountain range, there was a city built, an extremely massive fort located there, grand and imposing, suppressing the border. On the fields, one could see groups of giant elephants surging with blood energy, rumbling as they passed. They carried all types of supplies, rushing towards the fort. Meanwhile, on the other side of the mountain range, there were hordes of creatures, but they were completely silent. They were like a moving mountain, baring their snow-white fangs viciously, staring at this side, some of them seated. They devoured the black mist, eyes releasing vicious glints, preparing for war. Both sides were extremely careful, facing each other. This was especially the case when the world seemed like it was withering up, possibly entering an age without cultivation. So even the creatures of darkness became extremely cautious. That place seems to be quite lively. One could see that not far out from the fort, it was a bit different from the usual tense war atmosphere. That place was rather lively, people clamoring about. There are markets like this not far from each fort, selling all types of strange goods from the darkness region. Chao Yuxing explained. When fighting against foreign creatures, even though bloodshed was inevitable, there would still be some gains. After killing the powerful darkness creatures, they would obtain all types of strange things. That was why near the frontier forts, there would often be cultivators drawn in. The clans would send people over to exchange for items from time to time. Are they not scared of being corroded by the darkness? Xianxia asked. Everyone knew that the darkness matter was terrifying. Once infected, they might not be able to break free in this lifetime. Only the most powerful dared to touch it. These things have all undergone divine purification. Otherwise, there is no way they would reach this type of place, be exchanged. Chao Yuxing said. This was the work of Immortal domain. They constructed a type of formation, moreover producing an extremely astonishing type of divine furnace that could refine darkness matter. All of the goods that were seized would enter this furnace. Only after being purified could they be exchanged in the markets. There are even creatures from Immortal domain? Xianxia was shocked. He saw some creatures, the armors on their bodies carved with strange symbols. They were extremely strong, and also extremely special, carrying immortal energy. He had seen them before. Chao Yuxing nodded. Some of the strange goods seized from the creatures of darkness are invaluable. Some of the families from Immortal domain are mainly here as buyers. Xianxia became rather shocked. Even the creatures of darkness could have great treasures on them? They do, ruined artifacts, but ridiculously powerful, rumored to be bestowed by true darkness rulers. They were previously ruined fragments of my world. Chao Yuxing explained. The darkness experts from behind the scenes, they had previously experienced battles from other great eras, seizing supreme treasures from the nine heavens and even Immortal domain. Some of them were destroyed, and thus granted to the servants under them. Not long ago, someone killed a darkness supreme being, obtaining a pitch-black ruined metal ring from his hands. It was recognized to be a fragment of the world-shocking Vajra gem. That thing used to be extremely well-known in Immortal domain, shaking up all directions. When some great families from Immortal domain learned of this, they immediately hurried over, eager to obtain it. It can only be said it was rather lucky that time, even a fragment of an Immortal domain supreme treasure appearing, seized back like this. It really was too unexpected. Chao Yuxing said with a sigh. Apart from this, there was someone who obtained a ruined fragment of the Nine Phoenix Furnace from a darkness supreme being. This was a valuable treasure of the 9 heavens 10 earths. Xianxia became quiet. He wasn't shocked by the treasures, but rather worried over the evolution speed of the darkness creatures. Just how much time passed? After 30 years, supreme beings already appeared in succession. One had to understand that those creatures were all deceased cultivators of the 3,000 provinces, not incredible experts when they were still alive. However, when they were revived after their deaths, they obtained such terrifying evolutionary speed? What exactly was this so-called darkness matter? That little cultivator seems a bit familiar. Right at this time, someone saw Chao Yuxing, revealing a look of surprise. He opened a painting scroll. After carefully comparing it, he immediately revealed a look of shock. Why did this little fatty look so similar to the fat Taoist priest Chao Yuxing? Sure, Hao was stunned. After 30 years passed, Chao Yuxing already became someone well-known? They just arrived, yet someone already recognized him. They're from Wang family. They've always been chasing after me, trying to capture me to force out my master, but were fiercely toyed with several times. Chao Yuxing said, playing this situation down. However, sure, Hao could completely imagine what happened. With this little fatty's nature, being pursued by others, just how vicious would his methods of retaliation be? Just how deep of an impression did he leave them for them to chase him all around the world, trying to drive him out? Shua! That person blocked their way out. He stared at Chao Yuxing, extremely direct, standing in the way, clearly an expert. Are you Taoist priest Chao? He asked with a fake smile. Stop doubting already. I am precisely your family's Tao grandpa. Chao Yuxing was extremely direct, not like before where he immediately turned around to run. Even though this was a fort Wang family was in charge of defending, he didn't panic because he had Sure Hao next to him. Hehe, Tao grandpa. Then please come with me. My family's lord has always been thinking about you. This person smiled in a meaningful manner. Even though he knew that Chao Yuxing was formidable, he wasn't scared at all, because this was Wang family's territory. Now that fatty Chao dared barge in here, even if he didn't die, they would peel a layer of skin off him. This place neighbored the fort, just too close. With just a call, Wang family's experts all appeared. Moreover, with great formations sealing up this place, who could escape? Before Chao Yuxing could say anything, that puppy was the first to speak up. Human pet, what are you staring around blankly for? Just smack him flying. Chao Yuxing really was annoyed beyond belief. This damn dog was really ordering him like a human pet, domineering to the point of making him grind his teeth. You dare behave like this in our fort? Wang family's expert was shocked and angered. There's always been the saying that when beating the dog, one should look to the owner. Today, even if I beat up an errand dog like you, so what? Chao Yuxing said. Bark. The puppy was furious, directly leaping out a meter into the air, biting Chao Yuxing's hand. The surrounding people were stupefied, speechless. This really was cursing a Buddhist monk for being bald. Let go. Stop biting me. Chao Yuxing screamed in pain. He swung his hand with everything he had. In the end, this puppy was stuck to him. He couldn't get rid of it at all, almost tearing his flesh right off. You are just like dog skin plaster. Why are you sticking to me like this? Chao Yuxing complained. Even Sure Hao became speechless. They really were looking for trouble. Just that sentence alone most likely triggered that little dog. Motherfucking. You still dare curse me? The little dog bared its fangs, biting down with even more strength. Tears almost came out of Chao Yuxing's eyes. This stupid dog displayed a secret method that increased the pain over 100 times. He couldn't help but curse out. Who would have thought that there were so many common sayings that were connected to dog species like yours? Could it be that you went too far with bad things in your last life, making those of later generations always reminisce about you? What made everyone stunned was that this dog loosened its mouth, even seriously thinking to itself. That might actually be the case. Those idiots were jealous of me, which was why they must have left behind some bad rumors related to me. Everyone was stunned. Wasn't this little dog just too narcissistic? Or was it just dumb? Was this internal strife? While seizing this chance, Wang family's expert turned around to run, moreover displaying secret methods, starting to transmit sound, reporting to his clansmen. Soon afterwards, he received a reply. Chao Yuxing, you really dared show yourself? Right at this time, a loud shout sounded, ringing like thunder. These were two old servants dressed in gray robes. They were like two streaks of gray lightning, immediately diving down, landing on the road, clearly Wang family's top-level experts. These two had previously waited upon Immortal Wang, They were his personal servants. Now they were sent out. Bring him over, have him confess his sins and receive his punishment. Not far out, there was a large restaurant, gold and jade in glorious splendor, richly ornamented. A voice sounded from within. Just from the voice alone, one could tell that it wasn't that aged, instead rather young. There were quite a few people in the building, their statuses all extraordinary. There were people from long-life families, as well as creatures from immortal domains families. They all came to purchase darkness magical artifacts. I was wondering who it was. So it was Immortal Wang's oldest grandson. What a character, how arrogant. However, you want me to bow down and confess my faults? In my opinion, you're going to be the one pissing your pants while greeting this Dao grandpa. Heh! Even a stray dog dares behave so atrociously. Immortal Wang's eldest grandson said slowly. Forget about you. Even if the 9 bugs came, even they wouldn't be enough. Chao Yuxing sneered. What was even more stirred up was that little dog. When he heard Wang family's oldest grandson's words, it immediately became furious, screaming, "Bark! Brat, you're dead for sure. No one in the heavens above and earth below can save you." Oh? I was calling Taoist priest a stray dog. Why did another get upset? I was just feeling it was strange. Turns out there really was a stupid little dog. Sounds of laughter sounded from the golden-bricked, jade-tiled restaurant. Ha ha! Many people in that restaurant laughed loudly. There was a group of noble children, some disciples from top families and others inheritors of undying great sections. Apart from this, there were girls who released soft laughter. Even though they couldn't be seen, all of them in the building, one could imagine how amusing everyone found these words. Stupid dog. You are being mocked by others. Chao Yuxing turned around, lowering his head to look at that puppy. Right now, the little dog's eyes turned a bit blue, the result of anger, white smoke coming out of its nose. It bared its fangs, saying, "Brat, you won't die anymore, however. Let me tell you, being alive will be worse than death for you." Even though its origins weren't small, from its temper, one could tell that this fellow wasn't of the good sort. Definitely not the type to be on the losing end often. It wanted to get revenge. Human pet. Go, capture them. The little dog screamed, shouting at Chao Yuxing. Then, with a so sound, it leapt out. Even though it was only the size of a palm, its swiftness was too great, fast to the point where one couldn't react in time, appearing on Chao Yuxing's head. Motherfucking! Get off me! How can this Dao grandpa's legendary reputation be ruined under your hands? Chao Yuxing was upset, doing his best to pull it off. However, he couldn't no matter what he did. It was because this dog's origins were too great. Even though his cultivation declined, his flesh was still ridiculously powerful. No matter how one attacked it, it was completely unmoved. The little dog sat on Chao Yuxing's head, as if it had planted its roots, completely unmoved. Human pet, I choose you, the little dog shouted. Nearby, everyone was about to faint. What was going on with these individuals? A bean-sized puppy even dared act this arrogant, and there was even inner conflict. Haha! Roaring laughter sounded from the restaurant. Many people began to laugh. Even though that restaurant was built in the market, it was like a royal palace richly ornamented, a bejeweled building. To be more precise, it was a magical artifact. It was a place for those with status to rest and conduct transactions. Sure, Hao didn't say anything. This man and dog pair really were natural enemies, as if they were old enemies even in their past lives. Fuck your ancestors, stupid dog. Get off me. Chao Yuxing's chubby little hands were already pulling with everything he had. Attack! The little dog released a light shout. Its body shone, its faint red fur becoming brilliant, bringing Chao Yuxing with it, rushing towards that restaurant. Up ahead, there were 2 gray-clothed elders who exchanged a look, but didn't stop them. Capturing Fatty Chao was their goal, and now he was walking right up to their door. Let go of me. Chao Yuxing struggled. Stop struggling, this is a supporting technique. Right now, you are comparable to a human flying sword. The little dog said. With a hoo-la sound, A large group of people surrounded over, blocking the outside of the restaurant. Those who watched from the side weren't worried about things getting crazier, all of them spectating. Sure, how naturally also followed along. At his cultivation realm, even if he was standing in front of everyone's eyes, no one would be able to see through his depths. One man, one dog, fought while climbing the restaurant, directly reaching the highest floor, 10th floor. There was a spacious lounge here, as well as many private rooms. It was flowing with brilliance, essence energy rich. The entire building was a magical artifact suited for cultivation and residing. Wang family's eldest grandson Wang Tian had long walked out. He stood there, currently looking down on the ascending Chao Yuxing. He laughed and said, "Taoist priest Chao, Wang Tian welcomes you." There were quite a few people here, mostly youngsters. Of course, there were some older generation cultivators as well. All of them were sizing up the people climbing the stairs. "Taoist priest, your situation looks rather worrisome. A little dog is even able to tyrannically abuse you on your head. You might as well have entered my Wang family earlier." Wang family's eldest grandson Wang Tian calmly said. Many people laughed. Chao Yuxing really was in a bit of a sorry state. Hee hee. There were some ladies who secretly laughed, carrying a bit of mockery. Compared to those heroic youngsters in their eyes, the difference was just too far. Wang family. My status is something you can only imagine of reaching, Chao Yuxing said coldly. Originally, he wanted to display his might outside the building. Yet in the end, this dog was too impatient, bringing him up, making him lose all sense of prestige and dignity. As for the little dog, it was currently grinding its teeth, operating a technique. Is this the dog Taoist priest has raised? It really is a bit small, cute and clever. What breed is it? It seems to have become sentient a while ago. In the future, perhaps I should raise one as well. Wang Tian had a faint smile on his face. He looked easygoing, but he was ridiculing Chao Yuxing. However, what he didn't know was that when he first mocked this small dog, he ended up completely offending it. Bark! Smack your mouth! With a cry, the little dog leapt out, leaving behind afterimages in the sky. Then, with a paw noise, a dog paw struck Wang Tian's face. Too fast, impossible to evade. Of everyone here, only Sure Hao saw clearly what happened. No one else could even react. This dog paw sound was loud and clear, and it was also dripping with blood because it was extremely sharp. The small palm smashed into Wang Tian's face, striking him until he staggered, and then flew out, crashing into a jade table. At the same time, there were several gashes left behind that carried blood, left behind by the dog paw. Everyone was stunned. None of them expected a little dog to have such a vicious temper, smacking Wang family's eldest grandson flying. One had to understand that this was a long-life family's eldest grandson. He looked easygoing, but he possessed terrifying divine force. Once he took action, there weren't many who could match him. He was Immortal Wang's very own grandson. After being fostered for so many years, rarely making an appearance outside, his strength became extremely powerful. There were some who found this hard to believe. They had just clashed, yet his face was already smacked by a little dog paw until it was bloody, sent flying. There were some young ladies whose small mouths widened in shock, looking stunned. They released a cry of alarm. This was too inconceivable. Many people became a bit stupefied. You dare! The two gray-clothed elders were about to throw themselves over. One person went to grab the dog. Another grabbed at Chao Yuxing's neck, wishing to quickly capture them. It had to be said that taking action like this carried an intent to humiliate. After all, they were grabbing at a person's neck. Hang! A cold snort sounded. The two elders' bodies trembled intensely, their pupils widening, looking towards another youngster. They were horrified, bodies trembling uncontrollably. It was just a cold snort, yet they felt as if they were struck by lightning, bodies shaking, unable to help but kneel down. Who are you all trying to capture? Sure Hao asked coldly. The others could also tell that something wasn't right, staring at this in shock, looking towards that youngster. What kind of background did he have to actually shock those two gray-clothed elders stiff? There were some people who knew that these two gray-clothed elders had personally served Immortal Wang. They were his servants. You? The two were terrified, shaken from the innermost depths of their soul. In the end, with two putong sounds, they couldn't control their bodies, kneeling down before Shi Hao. This was their bodies' instinctive action, moving against their wills. As if they were common beasts before a beast king, an instinctive fear. Who are you? At this time, Wang Tian stood up. He looked at this scene in shock. While walking over, the expression on his face was incomparably ugly. He was actually smacked in the face by a small dog and sent flying, leaving him feeling incomparably humiliated. Right now, even though he knew that Shi Hao's status was extraordinary, he still couldn't help but shout out, filled with rage, really wanting to kill. However, he wasn't that worried, because there were members of Wang family's 9 dragons overseeing this fort. Who am I? Ha! Shi Hao was extremely cold. Standing there, Wang Tian was horrified. When his body was swept by Shi Hao's gaze, even someone as powerful as him, at the self-release realm, felt his legs weaken, his heart tremble, directly kneeling. This was a type of biological instinct, an innate servitude to the most powerful. He couldn't control himself at all. Kneeling just like that, his entire body shaking uncontrollably. Everyone was stupefied. Some people from long-life families began to feel apprehension. There were immortal domain youngsters here. Right now, they also revealed shocked expressions. Some young ladies covered their mouths in shock. This was Wang Tian, Wang family's eldest grandson. However, with just a single berating, a single look, he kneeled. It was too shocking. Haha, Wang family's eldest grandson, weren't you putting on airs? Why did you kneel down? I really ended up being correct, kneeling to welcome me. Chao Yuxing roared with laughter, feeling incredibly happy, finally venting out a bit of resentment. Hang! Right at this time, a cold snort sounded, descending like thunder, making everyone's souls tremble. You dare cause disorder in my Wang family's territory? The instant this voice sounded, a large hand reached over from the fort, covering the restaurant, wishing to capture and kill Shi Hao. Wang De, you really believe yourself infallible. You even want to take action against me? At this time, Shi Hao also took action. With a pung sound, he didn't release his aura, but reached out his right arm, spreading his 5 fingers, gripping that large hand in the void, and then pulled. A roar sounded from the fort, carrying shock and rage, as well as a hint of fear. Wang De really was horrified. Someone gripped his arm in place, directly pulling his body out from the fort. Dong! Shi Hao loosened his hand, throwing a gray-haired person on the ground, the impact making this place tremble intensely. It was precisely Wang family 9 dragons Wang De. Right now, everyone was stunned, completely stupefied. Wang De's spirit was vigorous. Even though he was taken prisoner, his eyes were still shining like golden lamps, coldly sweeping over everyone. He had a head of gray hair, carrying white strands, his age rather great. Who was he? He was Immortal Wang's eldest son. He was born during the Archaic Age, his magical force deep and profound. Many people felt apprehensive towards him. In the 9 heavens above, not many people dared provoke him because his origins were too great. However, it was precisely someone this powerful who was thrown to the ground, forcibly taken captive. It truly left everyone stupefied. It was unknown just how long ago he became an expert at the peak of self-release realm. His cultivation ridiculously profound, well known in this world. A person this powerful was captured, thrown to the ground in this hall. How could everyone not be horrified? Who are you? Wang De's voice was cold. He stared at Shi Hao, carrying shock and anger. Wang family was a long-life family. His father was unmatched in the 9 heavens 10 earths. It could be said that Wang family was already one of the most noble families in this world. If Immortal Domain's cultivators didn't take action, who dared provoke them? Right now, even though Shi Hao was standing right in front of him, Wang De still couldn't see through him. Once one's cultivation reached the supreme being realm, magical force became vigorous, aura devouring the starry skies. How quietly stood there, his entire body becoming incredibly mysterious, as if he was shrouded in great Tao mist. In reality, there was no mist, just that his cultivation was too profound, outsiders unable to see through him. All those who tried to peer into his divine consciousness and others would be erased by Tao laws. This was the Tao skill of the Supreme Being level. If one didn't wish to become known in this world, even if they were standing right in front of your faces, others wouldn't know it at all. The so-called wouldn't recognize a monarch even if he was in front of you. Of course, Wang De felt lucky, believing that this was likely a pseudo-supreme being. He didn't really believe that this was a true supreme being expert, because he could sense exuberant vitality. This person's age shouldn't be that great. How walked forward, lowering his head to look at Wang De. This made him feel extremely uncomfortable. Just how many years had it been since he was last looked down on? Wang De leapt out, but blood was flowing out from the corners of his lips. He was injured, moreover. The injuries weren't light. Dao friend, you are a bit too domineering. This is a frontier stronghold, not a place where you can act wildly, Wang De said with a sunken voice. How knew his temperament. This person was conceited and arrogant. In the past, just because of a slight disagreement, he wanted to kill him, his temper extremely great. Are my actions domineering? How can it compare to your Wang family? Just a Wang family eldest grandson. Yet he dared to raise his voice against us, have us kneel and accept our punishment, How said. Previously, Wang family's eldest grandson was precisely like this, ordering the two gray servants to capture Chao Yuxing and the others outside, insisting that they kneel and confess their crimes. The young one's temper is great, it can be understood. Dao friend, why must you bully the small as the great? Bicker with him, Wang De said. Even though his temper was great, he also knew the severity of the situation. The person before him was too mysterious, his strength astonishingly profound, so he didn't wish to immediately have a falling out. My temper is also quite great, so it can't be helped. When others strike my face, I can only give them a kick, How calmly said. He didn't have a single good impression of Wang family. This was especially true of the 9 dragons. Back then, they tried to kill him several times, once directly slaughtering their way over to Heavenly Deity Academy, almost taking his life while Great Elder wasn't there. Now, he already came out of seclusion, becoming a supreme being level exert. Now that he encountered them, he naturally wouldn't be forced back, let alone run. Friend, with things already like this, how about we just let bygones be bygones? Wang De said, the expression in his eyes deep. Chao Yuxing said with ridicule, old fella, you really are quite conceited? Even your own safety is hard to ensure, yet you are still acting so touch. Not even uttering a word of apology, yet you want things to be done here? Are you preparing to look for those brothers of yours? And then your old father, get all of them here to surround and kill us? Wang De gave him a cold look, his eyes deep, moreover carrying a bit of frost. Perhaps if an ordinary person was stared at like this, they might just die. How was right here. How could he just let him act viciously? In this region, all methods were useless. Tianer, come here, Wang De said. Wang Tian was his own son. As Wang family's eldest grandson, his aptitude was exceptional, strength truly great. However, right now he was kneeling on the ground, trembling slightly. This was extremely humiliating, making Wang Da's face fall. He was already shouting. Yet Wang Tian still couldn't stand up, suppressed by supreme being might. Dao friend, aren't you bullying others too far? Even if Tianer showed you all disrespect, wishing to take action, didn't he still fail? Why must you be this overbearing? Wang De shouted. He found it a bit hard to suppress his temper. How didn't say anything, only quietly looking at him. When he thought about how he was looked down on by the 9 dragons in the past, how he narrowly escaped death, and how he rose up, no longer having to fear Wang family, his emotions were complicated. The stars have turned, times have changed, the transformations of the world really were too fast. The small cultivator of the past already grew up. So you aren't willing to let this matter go? Wang Da's expression was cold. He looked at Shi Hao, his voice becoming colder. Wang Tian is the eldest grandson, someone who my father favors. Humiliating him like this, are you declaring war against my Wang family? Wang Da's rage was building. Even though he knew that this person before him was extraordinary, stronger than him, he didn't believe that the other side would be willing to completely have a falling out. He had confidence because Wang family now vaguely had the might of number one clan in the 9 heavens above. His father's prowess was great, strength becoming more and more terrifying. Apart from this, in recent years they actively built relationships, secretly contacting the darkness creatures, while in the open, they had good relationships with some great families from Immortal domain, having dealings with them. It could be said that they were playing all sides, roping in influence. It was because the chaos calming art was in their hands, something even some of Immortal domain's ancient inheritances coveted. There were some that stated they were willing to let them enter Immortal domain. That was why in recent years Wang family became stronger and stronger. Wang De had confidence in his backing, not all that worried. As long as Shi Hao wasn't a darkness creature, he believed that he would make the most sensible choice. Are you threatening me? Shi Hao calmly swept him a look. Let go of Tian'er, and then let this matter go, Wang De said. He didn't deny it, directly giving this cold reply. He had confidence because in this building he saw someone familiar. This was a great clan from Immortal domain, his backing powerful. Right now, those people were currently nodding towards him, smiling and greeting. With these people here, he believed this person didn't dare act randomly. Those people had all previously interacted with Wang family, desiring the chaos calming art, so their relationship was close. Now that Wang family faced difficulties, he believed they wouldn't just watch from the side with their hands behind their backs. Hehehe. Shi Hao laughed. What are you laughing at? What is so funny? Wang De said with a sunken face. I am laughing because you don't know the difference between being dead and alive, daring to threaten me so openly. The corners of Shi Hao's lips curled upwards slightly, carrying a smile of disdain. So what if I threaten you? Who do you think you are? Wang De was furious, now bursting in anger, no longer holding back. This was the result of his long habit of being overbearing. In the past, he even dared threaten Great Elder, relying on his father. Now, with Immortal domain allies here, he naturally remained unyielding. Pa! Shi Hao didn't say anything, just sending a palm flying, striking Wang Da's face, making blood gush from his mouth, teeth fly everywhere. His body flew out, smashing into the wall. Wang De flew into a rage out of humiliation. The instant he fell, he leapt out, erupting with divine light, displaying a restricted secret technique, wishing to kill Shi Hao. However, in the end, when he rushed over, tried to attack Shi Hao, his entire body's magical force surged intensely, his body feeling like it was going to explode. Wang De was horrified this time. He originally thought that Shi Hao was a pseudo-supreme being, just a bit stronger than himself, but now, it seemed like this person most likely broke into that deeper domain. A bit interesting, the so-called 9 dragons have some tricks, Shi Hao said. With a pung noise, this time, a foot swept out, smashing into Wang De until blood sprayed out from his large mouth. Even though precious techniques appeared, techniques mysterious, he was still not a match at all. Wang De was far stronger than ordinary peak self-release cultivators, because he had a secret formation carved in his body, all of the 9 brothers like this. If they were merged together, they would become unmatched under the heavens. This matter was something Shi Hao had long learned from Desolate Border. Now that he truly fought with Wang De, he understood it a step further. Not simple at all. Otherwise, if it was an ordinary person, as long as Shi Hao displayed might, it would already be enough to crush them until they couldn't lift a finger. However, the result was still already set. Pong! Shi Hao's fist flew out, striking Wang De until he exploded, blood flying everywhere, shocking everyone here. No one expected him to dare deal a vicious blow. Chi! Bloody mist and bone fragments shone. Wang De immediately reconstructed his body, reappearing. His hair was disheveled, looking like a malicious spirit. He stared at Shi Hao, carrying shock and fear. Extraordinary as expected, having some skills. Shi Hao nodded. Wang De had a formation within him that could immediately activate, prevent him from dying, moreover allowing him to quickly recover. If the 9 dragons had 2 or 3 together, their formation would continue without end, supporting each other, become even more terrifying. Sure Hao now understood a bit. You're in luck. Right at this time the little dog spoke up, looking towards Chao Yuxing. You also carved formations in your body, right? If you can transplant all 9 corners of Wang family's 9 dragons into your body, Wu, you might actually gain enlightenment in the future because of this. In that case, I'll give you a great present. When Shi Hao heard this, he walked over, a foot kicking Wang De outwards, making him cough large mouthfuls of blood, in the end not moving at all. In this restaurant, everyone was horrified. The young ladies covered their mouths, in disbelief. This person was too strong, not scared of Wang family at all. Dao friend, you should let others off where it is possible. Right at this time, a family from Immortal Domain finally spoke up. There were several people who walked over, the expressions on their faces calm, lining up, standing in front of Wang Da's body. Wang family humiliated me first. Why can't I take action to discipline him? Shi Hao asked. Heh, I don't care what kind of grudges you have, immediately stop right now. You can leave. A white-clothed youngster among them spoke, full of arrogance. Dao friend, with things already like this, it is still best if we exchange weapons of war for jade and silk. Let this matter end. An elder said. Shi Hao looked at the elder, saying, Your words are still reasonable. However, this youngster seems to be rather insolent. If my immortal domain's Hong family wishes to protect some people, do I have to lower my tone just for something like you? That youngster said coldly. Shi Hao laughed. His voice became overcast and forceful. This is my captive. No one can stop me. These people weren't true immortals, yet they dared to order him while pointing at his face. At worst, he would just suppress them all. He'll just wrap them all up, take these captives with him back to the lower realms. You wish to make my Hong family your enemy? On the other side, someone said coldly. Shi Hao didn't say anything. At this time, the little dog spoke out, saying, What dragon fart Hong family? I remember back then, I took in a human pet in Immortal Domain surnamed Hong. Don't tell me that fella made your family? Damn dog you! That white-clothed youngster pointed at it in anger, his expression cold. Let this king give it a try, the little dog said to himself. It produced a little bell from its neck, and then began to shake it. Put on. In that instant, those people's bodies all shone, mysterious symbols covering their heads, falling on the ground, continuously rolling about, screaming miserably as if their hearts were splitting, lungs tearing. It really was that Hong family, the one I took as a human pet. The curse engraved in their blood passed on to the descendants. Heh. The little dog snickered. Ah! Those people screamed miserably when the bell sound disappeared, while trembling in fear, kneeling on the ground. One of them said with a trembling voice, Your respected self, are you really that great one? Everyone became stunned. Even those with tough minds became petrified at this moment, becoming incomparably shocked. What kind of situation was this? The cultivators of an immortal domain family ended up like this? They were calling that little dog Great One. What in the world was going on? The little dog acted extremely cockily, not seeming that concerned from the very start, looking at them in disdain. Everyone was extremely speechless. This really was too strange and bizarre. Great One. Is it really your respected self? The elder with the greatest age was trembling, kneeling on the ground, crawling forward. His attitude was just too respectful, full of incomparable reverence. How could others not be shocked at this sight? They were all stunned. How could this fella from Immortal Domain be like this? To be this respectful to a small dog, it really was terrifying. What did all you call me just now? The little dog shot them a sidelong glance. It already jumped onto the jade table, or else it really was too short. Cold sweat immediately ran down this elder's body, his fine hairs standing on end. It was because his clan's youngster directly called it a stupid dog. This really left him horrified. This was especially when he thought about this dog's past nature, leaving him feeling even more frightened. It was definitely savage, moreover bore grudges. Directly cursing it like this, isn't this the same as being tired of life? In the past, the clan's old ancestor definitely had his fair share of dog bites. Even though he became a true immortal, he still wasn't willing to recall the past. That was a period where tears of blood were shed, memories that were better forgotten. Yet now, their descendants ended up encountering this ancestor. How could they not be scared? Their legs and stomachs were cramping. Great One, please don't lower yourself to our level. Please forgive us. Bloody wisps even appeared on this elder's forehead. With his cultivation, he naturally didn't fear having his scalp torn by the floor, but he still had no choice but to produce this type of display. The people behind him all looked at each other with expressions of dismay. There were some who were shocked, some stupefied, others at a loss, not knowing what to do. It was clear that not everyone in the clan knew about these past things. "Uncle!" a middle-aged man called out with a soft voice. "Shut your mouth!" The elder released a low berating. "I truly never thought that after all these years past, I would still see your race, heh?" The small dog bared its fangs, laughing, the snow-white little fangs leaving all of them terrified. In reality, this elder was cursing inwardly. So many years passed already, a great era. Why did this dog thing jump out again? Back then, his ancestors confirmed that this dog was already dead, falling in a mortal ancient battle, plotted against by someone, a spear impaling it. In the end, it actually showed up again like this. He really wanted to immediately return. Report to the elder that this dog was still alive. Was there still heavenly reasoning? The past demon, villain, the existence who made even his ancestor's face turn pale, after all these years, could appear in this world again. There isn't much else to say. Come over. Apologize to my human pet first. Get over your shock already. The little dog reached out a claw, pointing towards Chao Yuxing. As a result, both sides loathed this. Immortal domains individuals were conflicted, especially the younger generations. They were being berated by a little dog, demanded to apologize. It really was hard for them to take. As for Chao Yuxing, there was even less of a need to explain. It was as if he drank a barrel of oil, hating it so much he wanted to trample it to death. "This is your respected self's human pet?" That elder still had a serious expression, carefully asking. "Get lost." Chao Yuxing really couldn't take this anymore. "We didn't do anything to offend him. All we did was utter a few words with that youngster." The people in the back muttered. They admitted that they acted against Sure Hao, but they didn't seem to have trouble Chao Yuxing. "This matter arose because of my human pet, so you all naturally need to compensate him," the little dog said in an aggressive manner. "Uncle, why is there a need to do this? It is just a little dog. Is there a need for your respected self to lower your head like this?" In the back, that white-clothed youngster already couldn't take this a long time ago. In reality, he had always been enduring, his lungs about to explode already. His clan was one of the most powerful clans, one with a true immortal, yet now they were actually so low profile, apologizing because of a stupid little dog. He couldn't bear this no matter what. Feeling like this was utter humiliation. It was because he didn't know about this clan's background, not understanding the past truth. Towards their clan's old ancestor, this was a piece of dark history, a time of bloody tears. How could it be told to later generations? Only some of the older generation were aware of it. "You aren't convinced?" With a so sound, the little dog jumped out, landing on this white-clothed youngster's head, smacking down fiercely. This youngster immediately saw stars, the crown of his head almost shattering, almost planting face first into the ground. He really was angered badly, his liver in pain, his stomach sore, entire body aching. This little dog really went all out, leaving him utterly furious. "You dare humiliate me!" he roared out. "What's so special about a brat like you? What shame is there? Even your ancestor was my human pet. Yet even a being like you dares challenge me." The little dog brazenly ridiculed. "I'm going to stake it all against you." The youngster released auspicious brilliance, displaying a secret method, wishing to kill this little dog. However, all precious techniques were useless against it. On the other side, the others from Hong family were truly scared badly, especially that elder, his face the color of dirt. He knelt on the ground, shuddering in fear. "You evil child! Why aren't you stopping yet?" he roared out. "Uncle, why are you like this?" The white-clothed youngster was shocked and furious. "It really is our ancestor." The elder found it hard to speak, uttering this here. Everyone was horrified. This was especially the case for those families from Immortal domain. When they heard this, they all released strange expressions. This news was just too astonishing. The little dog that was brazenly calling them human pets, in the end, it was true. Just what kind of background did it have? As for Wang De and Immortal Wang's two servants, as well as Wang Tian, at this time, they were all stunned, their faces turning rigid, all of them becoming incomparably shocked. Wang family's people were stupefied. They thought that they could rely on Immortal domain's families. Yet in the end, they were suppressed by a little dog, becoming completely submissive. This really was just too terrifying. This was especially when, from their words, they felt like something wasn't right. Hong family's old ancestor was a true immortal-level existence. He was actually this small dog's human pet? Was there still any heavenly reasoning? The great families were immediately almost scared to death. At the very least, the princes and young miss from the 9 heavens 10 earths were all stunned, their scalps turning numb, all of them not daring to show the slightest bit of disrespect. They had never felt as much fear as they did today. When they thought about how not long ago, Wang family's oldest grandson was still bossing others around. Looking down on Chao Yuxing and this little dog, everyone felt a wave of speechlessness. They really were courting death. Pa pa pa. In the end, the elder braced himself and stood up, starting to give that youngster a vicious beating, smacking him until his entire face swelled, kneeling on the ground. Wang De was completely stunned. He originally thought that he could depend on this immortal domain family's strength to threaten Shihao, suppress the enemy. Yet in the end, the so-called allies directly knelt down. At this time, Shihao took action, dragging Wang De over, examining him in front of everyone. He wanted to figure out the formation in his body, preparing to give Chao Yuxing a great gift. Fatty Chao now looked like he was 7 or 8 years old, chubby and round in Taoist robes. With a sound, he rushed over to where Wang Tian was, starting to kick him with everything he had. "Why aren't you acting out now? Weren't you walking all over others, sending out people to hunt me down? During all these years, using the title of Wang family's eldest grandson, you searched all over the world to capture me. I'm going to kick the shit out of you." Fatty Chao was furious, beating Wang Tian until he almost didn't look like a human anymore. Chi. Wang Da's body shone. Shihao came into contact with the strange magical formation engraved in his body, making even his soul tremble. "No, you can't do this," he screamed hysterically, roaring out. "It was personally arranged by my father, Immortal Wang. If you forcibly try to seize it, he will sense it." Wang De said. This was the first time he revealed an expression of fear, but he didn't forget to threaten the other party. Shihao sneered, a palm smacking out, blasting his face until he coughed out a large mouthful of blood. At the same time, the formation radiance within his body erupted, the patterns becoming more and more clear. "Great One, you should return with us to Immortal domain, I believe. When our ancestor sees you, he will definitely be very happy," Hong family's elder told this little dog. "Happy my ass." The elder knew that the old ancestor hated this dog to death, not wishing to see it again for the rest of eternity. If he truly brought this little dog back, the old ancestor might very well skin him alive. The small dog was laughing, a bit fake, the corners of his lips about to reach its ears. It revealed a mouthful of snow-white little dog fangs, releasing a hollow laugh and saying, "There's no rush." In reality, it didn't dare go over, it was lacking in confidence. Right now, its cultivation was crippled. If that immortal domain human pet really knew, he might very well skin it alive. However, the others didn't think this. They all wanted to report back to their families. The things that happened today were too crazy. A little dog had actually previously taken a true immortal as a human pet. Even Immortal Domain's families felt like this little dog's origins were too heaven-defying, that they had to send news back.